4, 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here. Look at that. It's a hair down day. I finally got to a day where I wasn't actually pulling cords or cleaning cat boxes or cooking, which I find as my hair gets longer, if I don't put it back, becomes an even more dangerous endeavor by the week. Just is what I fear most, I think. Welcome, glad you could be here. Settle in, spread the word, let people know I'm live and full of vim and vigor and excited to see you. And don't forget, I don't know is there a dinner bell we ring for the trolls to make sure there's enough of them here to keep us kind of marginally amused by their existence? I always hope so. And yet, sometimes they're just late to the game, and then I'm already on something as far as a storyline or an information point, or I'm, ranting, and it's hard to break my flow just to deal with them. So it would be nice if they got in early, got it out of their system, and then sat back and learned a few things. But I'm live, and here we are. It's just the 1,000 of us. By the way, our numbers are growing increasingly. I think I'm beginning to know why. I mean, besides the fact that I'm charming, lovable, caring, committed to the ethics and morals that I present to the world, and have been consistent in I would say 98% of my predictions have come true. Besides that fact, I think there's also a factor that comes in, which is, how do I put this out? This is that in terms of other left broadcasters. Now, it is a little bit of splitting hairs here, because in the traditional sense of right and left, the actual terminology comes from, I think, French Parliament, where the people on the right were pro-monarchy and the people on the left were pro-parliament, meaning any parliamentary form of governance, representative government, in which case, welcome one and all, we're all on the left. Then once you get where everybody's in that left, then there's a spread about how much executive power exists in the parliament versus how much individual sovereign power. And the extremes would be that the extreme executive concept, that Bush one's crowd really liked and pushed, and then of course was used to create a legal basket for some of the more egregious things that the second Bush White House did. And then on the far left of it is just a complete anarchist, quasi-communist, sovereign citizen, libertarian orgy of nonsense. And both being nonsense, obviously, the sort of, well, we won't have a king, but we'll basically have a king, which is the far right of the liberal world that we all live in. Sorry. And the rest of us kind of bounce around in there trying to make the best of the world under a democratic governance system, except for those that don't want it to exist, of course. And having an enlightened and smart conversation about what's possible, what's reasonable, and what we're capable of, and what those capabilities, if misused, could lead to. So therefore, you might want to temper some of your expectations and demands based on reality so that you don't unleash some unintended consequences that actually are more damaging than shit that was happening in the first place, because you care about people. And you're like, hey, I know this might be a dumb idea, but let's go all in on my dumb idea. I don't care what happens to folks. That kind of thing, like not voting. In the world of kind of mouthy, progressive liberal broadcasters, I'm kind of alone in the supporting democracy thing right now. And the irony is like right when it's starting to work, for the first time in months. And maybe that's because I have a living outside of this. So if the government actually becomes functional and kind of boringly normal again, I mean, I can, if we go back to a Clinton kind of situation, I can make jokes in comedy clubs and not have to alleviate people's anxiety through truth telling and punching holes in right wing and hyper left lies the way I have, I'm currently doing. I've got something else to do. They don't have anything else to do. And I know you're thinking, well, why would you think that these folks would wish more evil on the country this fall? I mean, we've got a midterm coming up. We have a hair's breadth margin in the House and Senate. We're actually seeing a chance to, where the polls are pointing that we may actually grow our majority in the Senate this fall because of the Supreme Court and their overreach. That would be turning bad news into good news, where we could do something about it. You would think that people would go, oh, well, we definitely got to be all in on this. Apparently not. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the pure essence, the Gelfling juice that Bloody McSkexis is refining out of it. Here's the statement. This one's what stuck out to me. Here you go. All right, here you go. You ready?
Mention on the record. Nah, the Democrats aren't on your side. They're sons of bitch liars who never get called out by the press because they're all best friends.
Yeah, that's it's fucking July and the election is in November and everybody on the Democratic side is pulling every switch they can to try and make sure we maintain majorities in the House and Senate, which again are razor fucking thin. They are not we do not have majorities that are indicative of a populace that's all in on what we're trying to get done or trying to, the programs we support. And the people that are on the other side, apparently there's sort of this 50-50 namby-pamby idea, coin flipping idea, where on the other side, literally, the Republicans have said through Rick Scott's proposal and through what the GOP of Texas has written in their platform, that we're just going to sunset Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, fuck Medicare for all, Medicare for fucking nobody. That's the choice. And these guys are like, you know what? These guys are assholes. They don't do anything, even though Biden's done practically everything he can since getting into office. This is lunacy. And again, I mean, they have to act like this. They have to, I suppose, because the only other alternative is to admit that they played a huge part in Trump getting elected and in the Supreme Court justices that got into office getting in there and staying in there. Yeah. This is like friggin' goofy. But again, this isn't like something, as soon as Biden got into office, the first executive orders he signed, were like, I'm going to get rid of Roe v. Wade. Like that, this is the reaction. Like he did it. Like he got in office and he signed off on this happening. Or that there was actually a seat up for the SCOTUS when he came in, and he was the one who put Barrett in, or he was the one or he put somebody in who was kind of middle ground, who was like sided with them half the time. That kind of reaction would make sense if that were the case. But their reaction, apparently their anger, is based on the fact that the Biden White House, since the leaked Roe v. Wade opinion, and their waiting game of seeing if the leaked version was actually going to match what was ruled on, which makes a difference in your legal response, have been going back and forth and going, how do we actually gain these, what do we do to actually solve these problems within the limits of the presidency? Because it will require legislation to fix it for real. And Democrats of Chink's ilk, which I don't necessarily know that I would call him a Democrat after that. People who allegedly pretend to be Democrats in this case, who, were conservatives, originally launched a show called The Young Turks, named after basically the brown shirts, the Armenian genocide, and which, by the way, for the record, the Jacobins were like the French version of the Young Turks. They were a murderous group as well, and Anna's on both shows, the Jacobin and the TYT. I don't know. It's very strange. They play fast and loose with those terms, or just don't give a shit, apparently. But if Biden had done any of those things kind of in the first month, like, I knew it, he sold out right away. He's responding within the limits of the powers of the executive branch as best he can, considering this, and also considering that there aren't a shit ton of Dem voters on Cenk's side that are lining up like, we got to support this president so that he can codify Roe v. Wade. Biden has stated, we need legislation to codify Roe v. Wade. And what has the reaction been from that crowd? We're not showing up. Well, then why the fuck would Democrats even attempt to, quote, run on codifying Roe v. Wade, other than the fact that they actually give a shit and they don't care what he thinks, but they care about the safety and health of women? Why would they go, wow, we got to be loud and proud about this, when they're not getting any of the support? And they're up against voters who are very motivated and inspired to guarantee that Roe v. Wade isn't codified. Those people never lost hope. They helped elect Donald Trump too. And their purpose was, I don't care if he's a pussy-grabbing, grotesque, lying schmuck. If he gets Roe v. Wade overturned, he's God's missile. And that's enough for me. It's so bizarre. All right, now, also, one of the things is why is that one of their primary focuses? That was today. That was from their live stream today. Just me clicking in on stuff to see if they were where they were and stuff, because I don't watch the show. So occasionally, because this stuff has been coming up, I'm like, are they always doing this? They're always doing this. That's what they do now. The TYT has moved into full mute the vote. That's their whole purpose. So, meanwhile, why be on that when the Biden administration he's written an executive order protecting the ability for women to get FDA-approved medications through the mail? Nobody can stop that. If you try to stop that, or you try to track it, or you are writing something that they can't sell the data of women who are using period trackers and that kind of stuff. That's the best he can do currently. And to set the DOJ and other groups in an investigation on these folks if they try it, that's all he has. And if he had more power than that, then Trump would have had more power than that. Then Bush would have had more power than that. There are important reasons why we limit the power of any of these branches, so that at some point, the voters that actually give a shit about these things can interrupt the process and say, that's too far or that's not far enough. Yeah. Anyways, but today, Mrs. Murphy took us all to school. I'm glad they finally we got to hear from her. They're kind of working their way out to the outsides of the committee and then back to the middle again. And each one is kind of having their time. And she spoke very eloquently. She's the only person on the committee that was born in a foreign country, which is a shame, because I think she'd make a lovely president one day. But she talked about being born in Vietnam and having to, basically that political violence was a part of their life. And one of the reasons they came to the United States was to avoid political violence. And then here she is under the presidency of Donald Trump, having to hide in the fucking Capitol, as she had made it all the way up to being an elected representative of not just the Vietnamese people in her community, but everyone in her community. Because that's how America works. And now she's having to hide from political violence. She was great. Anyway, so today they had Patsy Baloney and a couple of other Trump folks in. There was I didn't have the ability to bookmark parts of this video, and because I have a kid, I wasn't able to go through and do, minute counts and that kind of stuff. One of these days I'll have production assistants or something. But until that day, You'll just have to live with me. But there are a couple of pieces I want to go through, and I'll see if I think I found the clip, but I wanted to talk about a couple of things, because one of the things that was revealed today clarified something that I've been saying for quite a while, and it was nice to kind of I've been suspicious of too. In those moments where I've had to put satire up on the screen, or I've had to go, does that sound a little? I've had those moments, but I didn't have any evidence to back that feeling about something, especially the I'm going to go down there with you. And then the whole thing in the car where the Secret Service pushed back and didn't take him. There was a piece of there was a detail today that sheds light on that as more of just Trump, as more than just Trump being impulsive, as more than him just being an asshole, that it was part of a strategy. And that in many ways, those two Secret Service agents that told the story to Cassidy Hutchinson and then have said they're willing to testify. This might have been a trap for them, because, well, we'll get to that. I'll show you what I mean. It's just, let's see.
And so I had to put a call into the president. I might have called on the 13th. We spoke, I believe, on the 14th, in which I conveyed to him that I thought that it was time for him to acknowledge that President Biden had prevailed in the election. But I communicated to the president that when that legal process is exhausted and when the electors have voted, that's the point at which that outcome needs to be expected. I told him that I did believe, yes, that once those legal processes were run, if fraud had not been established,
and it wasn't,
that had affected the outcome of the election, that unfortunately I believed that what had to be done was concede the outcome.
Right. Now, let me see if I can find this, because hold on one second. He's getting this in December. This is well before all this shit. Like, everybody around him who isn't a fucking lunatic is is mentioning that, and by the way, don't forget to like and subscribe, Venmo and stream and Twitch. There you go. I keep forgetting to do stuff. The story in this, she's reading this. She does great. And then, where we go? Here we go. Yeah.
Return the election.
I want to start by asking if you agree.
This is Patsy Baloney.
Mr. Cipollone, with the conclusions of Matt Morgan and Bill Barr, of all of the individuals who evaluated those claims, that there is no evidence of election fraud sufficient to undermine the outcome in a particular state.
Yes, I agree with that.
Ouch. Okay, so, and he's felt that way the entire time. Patsy Baloney, and this is why Trump wanted him to not testify, is because Trump knew exactly what he was going to say, because in all these stories that we've heard about, even over the years we've been together, I covered a bunch of this shit, if you'll recall. And, the sort of knockdown, drag-out fight that they talk about in this, we had mentioned this on the actual stream. When the footage of Mike Pillow came out and he started talking about what happened, and Lynn Wood and all these assholes started, spouting about their experience and how these guys were insufficiently loyal, and Mike Flynn's talked about it as well. We saw this, but now it's verified.
And Mr. Cipollone also specifically testified that he believed that Donald Trump should have conceded the election.
Ouch.
Did you believe, Mr. Cipollone, that the president should concede once you made the determination based on the investigations that you credited DOJ did and the campaign did? Did you, in your mind, form a belief that the president should concede the election loss at a certain point after the election?
Well, again, I was the White House counsel. Some of those decisions are political. So to the extent that, but if your question is, did I believe he should concede the election at a point in time? Yes, I did.
There you go.
I believe
the children are our future.
Leader McConnell went onto the floor of the Senate, I believe, in mid-December, and basically said, the process is done. That would be in line with my thinking on these things.
He's looking at his lawyer when he says that, by the way.
As Attorney General Bill Barr testified, December 14th should have been the end of the matter.
I have been talking to the president, and I just thought it was all horseshit, just...
December 14th was the day that the states certified their votes and sent them to Congress. And in my view, that was the end of the matter. I didn't see, I thought that this would lead inexorably to a new administration.
Mr. Cipollone also testified that the president's
Besides 240 years of history, what would lead you to believe such a thing?
chief of staff, Mark Meadows, said he shared this view.
As early as that November 23rd meeting, we understand that there was discussion about the president possibly conceding the election. And specifically, we understand that Mark Meadows assured both you and Attorney General Barr that the president would eventually agree to a graceful exit.
A graceful exit. Yes, as long as there's no ramp, the president was, how's Venmo click the QR code? Yes, you can, if you use Venmo, you can tip me for the show there. If you like the fact that I've been right all along, there it is.
Do you remember Mr. Meadows making any such representation?
Are you saying as part of that meeting or separately? Again, without getting into that meeting, I would say that is a statement and a sentiment that I heard from Mark Meadows.
I see. And again, do you know if it was on November 23rd or some point?
Again, it was probably, around that time, and it was probably subsequent to that.
It was like around failure o'clock on December the fucked.
It wasn't a one-time statement.
Mr. Meadows has refused to testify, and the committee is in litigation with him.
I wonder why.
Many other White House officials shared the view that once the litigation ended and the Electoral College met, the election was over. And here's President Trump's former press secretary.
I wanted to clarify, Ms. McEnany, so back to my previous question, it was your view then, or was it your view that the efforts to overturn the election should have stopped?
Okay, so they basically they go through this whole thing like it was done. There was no getting out of this kind of stuff. Okay, and then we go to
It was crazy stuff, and they were wasting their time on that. And
it gets to the big Sidney Powell stuff.
it was doing a grave disservice to the country.
We've learned that President Trump's White House counsel agreed with the Department of Justice about this.
Attorney General Barr made a public announcement on December 1st, less than a month after the election, that he had seen no suspended fraud sufficient. But fair to say that by December 1st, you had reached the same conclusion?
It's fair to say that I agreed with Attorney General Barr's conclusion on December 1st. Yes, I did, and I supported that conclusion.
I wanted, this is what I hope. I hope Jeremy Raskin, who I find adorable and lovely, I hope right here on, instead of that right here on the desk, because he looked over at a couple things, and I think it's basically, there's probably a monitor there that shows when the clip is over and he's back on. I hope it's actually a camera at Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster, like a mini CIA mosquito drone that just follows Trump around, and it's floating around him, watching him watch this, and he's just like, after each clip where they're like, yeah, I agreed, Barb was right, just like he's just looking over at the screen to see Trump go, just have a big Kramer moment. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't want to miss it. Oh, God.
However, the strong rejection of the Attorney General and the White House counsel of these claims did not stop the president from trying to press them in public. But that's not all he did. Indeed, as you'll see in this clip.
Can I turn up the clip audio? Yes, I think so. It's pretty loud on its own.
The president asked Attorney General Bill Barr to have the Department of Justice seize voting machines in the states.
My recollection is the president said something like,
By the way, this is a ton of jackassery in this stuff. The stuff I want to look at, we got President plans on winning, legislators have to be moved. This will do that. I'm trying to find the one piece. There's Rusty Bowers. There's these folks. Yeah, they had the Sidney Powell meeting. I love this graphic. This is amazing. Like President Minecraft. They went to the Oval, they went to the Roosevelt Room and the Cabinet Room, and then they went over to the Lemon Oval, the Yellow Oval, the Egg Oval.
Office, moving around the West Wing,
yelling, screaming. It's like they had all left the room and Trump was following them room to room going, guys, please.
And many hours later,
just chucking ketchup packets at them.
Ending up in the president's private residence. The
Yellow Oval. Blech. I'm also going with Mustard Oval.
The committee has spoken with 6 of the participants, as well as staffers who could hear the screaming from outside the Oval.
I'm sorry. Look, you have to understand, what happened on January 6th was terrible. It cannot be allowed to happen again. But you have to understand, like, these are moments where Trump was panicking. They are freaking out at this point, and it went nowhere. It didn't do anything. All the yelling and screaming and bullshit after the fact, it led to his awful, like, the cuckoo, but it was unsuccessful.
Office. What took place next?
All right, Benny Loco, I don't know why you're mad at me today in particular, but you understand how I operate here.
Is best told in their own words, as you will see from this video.
Did you believe that it was going to work, that you were going to be able to get to see the president without an appointment?
I had no idea.
In fact, you did get to see the president without an appointment.
We did.
How much time did you have alone with the president? And I say alone, you had other people with you, but
right
from his aides.
Yeah, I was never alone. I was always with Rudy Giuliani and Mike Flynn, and we were all dressed as a different endangered species. Rudy was wearing an eagle suit. Before
the crowd came running.
Probably no more than 10 or 15 minutes.
Was in that...
I bet Pat Cipollone set a new land speed record.
I got a call either from Molly that I need to get to the Oval Office.
So that was the first point that I had recognized, okay, there was nobody in there from the White House.
It was just him alone with these fucking lunatics. And it's basically Mike Flynn, Lynn Wood, Sidney Powell. I don't think Rudy Giuliani was there at that point yet. He showed up later. He was on the phone. I think they ended up calling him because he was still in Ukraine, or he'd left the country for a bit. Or was that when he was in Italy? Anyways, it was just the 3 of them and Trump's porous brain.
Mark's gone. What's going on right now?
Yeah, the Overstock CEO didn't come till later. By the way, if you'll recall, can I remind everybody? There was a bunch of people who were like, the Overstock CEO. That's hilarious. When did that happen? And you're like, dude had to step down because he was having an affair with Maria Butina. That's him. That's this dude. That's him. That's Maria Butina. He was knocking boots with this Russian spy, and he was in the fucking White House alone with the president a couple of times, trying to get him to fight and steal the fucking country. And Jesus Christ. Ugh.
The door, and I walked in. I saw General Flynn. I saw Sidney Powell sitting there. I was not happy to see the people in the Oval Office.
Explain why.
Have you met them? Or do I have to actually say?
Well, again, I don't think they were providing. Well, first of all, the Overstock person, I've never knew who this guy was.
Well, Now you do. He was fucking Maria Butina. Yeah. He didn't, like, hook up with her after because he thought she was unfairly maligned. She was on his honeypot list for some fucking reason. And of course, here you go. Overstock CEO resigns after blaming Deep State for sex with Russian agent. I mean, that's one of my favorite headlines of that era. He was overstocking the Butina. Quit it.
The first thing I did, I walked in, I looked at him, and I said, "Who are you?" And he told me. I don't think any of these people were providing the president with good advice
or a comfy sofa at a reasonable price.
And so I didn't understand how they had gotten in.
In the short period of time.
And they just cut back to her like, I got it in the White House, y'all.
That you had with the president, did he seem receptive to the presentation that you were making?
He was very interested in hearing particularly about the CISA finding and the terms of 13848 that apparently nobody else had bothered to inform him of.
And I'm pretty sure 13848, that's the Insurrection Act. Is that what? Yeah, opposing certain. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Executive Order 13848, imposing certain sanctions in the event of foreign interference in a United States election, September 12, 2018. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution, President of the United States, find that the ability of persons located in holding places outside the United States to interfere to undermine public consent, hereby I order, no later than 45 days after a United States election director of national intelligence in consultation will tell me what happened. And within 45 days of the assessment, Section 1, the Attorney General and the Secretary will head the heads and deliver the thing. And if Marita Butino is boring. Okay. Basically, the idea is that he has, because of 2018, he can seize everything. He can seize all the voting machines and yada, yada. It's stupid.
I was asking, like, you're claiming the Democrats were working with Yugoslavs, Venezuelans, and whomever else. And at one point, General Flynn took out a diagram that supposedly showed IP addresses all over the world, and who was communicating with whom via the machines, and some comment about like Nest thermostats being hooked up to the internet.
Right. That's Flynn thought that they were, that because Nest thermostats are Wi-Fi enabled, that meant if they had Nest Wi-Fi things in any of the, if they had Nest thermostats in any of the areas where voting machines were, they could use that as a relay to feed fake votes into the machines. Again, if they did that, there would be no paper ballot to back it up. So a recount of even the easiest kind of recount would immediately go, holy shit, there's 5,000 missing ballots that aren't in paper, right? It's the same thing with shoving a bunch of paper things through. And then if they do a simple canvas of a neighborhood and they're like, there's not 3,000 people living in this building, there's 200, right? I mean, it's so lame.
So it's been reported that during this meeting, Ms. Powell talked about Dominion voting machines and made various election fraud claims that involve foreign countries such as Venezuela, Iran, and China. Is that accurate?
Again, why the fuck the fifth? He's not incriminating her. It's shit he heard. He was in the room. You can't plead the fifth on somebody else.
Was the meeting tense?
Oh, yeah. It was not a casual meeting.
It was casually tense.
Explain.
I mean, at times there were...
Yeah, I like Hirschman too. I enjoy the justice bad as well. Like, I'm sure he and Cipollone under normal circumstances are run-of-the-mill Republicans that I wouldn't favor at all. But in the context of this, hilarious.
People shouting at each other, hurling insults at each other.
Mm-hmm. Such as?
It wasn't just sort of people sitting around on the couch like chit-chatting.
Do you recall whether he raised to Ms. Powell the fact that she and the campaign had lost all of the 60 cases that they had brought in litigation?
Yes, he raised that.
And what was the response?
I don't remember what she said. I don't think it was a good response.
Cipollone and Hirschman and
whoever the other guy was. You mean all the people who were actually paid to be there?
whoever the other guy was showed nothing but contempt and disdain of the president.
Yeah. Anybody who truly loves him would enable him to do the most violent and criminal things possible out of love.
Yeah, I remember the three of them were really sort of forcefully attacking me verbally. Derek, and we were pushing back, and we were asking one simple question.
I'm guessing this question wasn't so simple, kids.
As a general matter.
General matter.
Where is the evidence?
See, that's not a simple question. I'd be happy to get you copies of the evidence, but I need to hold it back so that the press knows that I'm serious about it.
So,
what response did you get when you asked Ms. Powell and her colleagues where's the
a variety of responses based on my current recollection, including, can't believe you would say something like, things like this, like, what do you mean, where's the evidence? You should know, and things like that, or, a disregard.
Google it, right.
I would say a general disregard for the importance of actually backing up what you say.
Oh, by the way, apparently, we'll cover it maybe a little bit later because I won't do the whole show based on this. But apparently, an anonymous 4chaner broke into Hunter Biden's iCloud and started dumping stuff that's from the exact same time period as a laptop that doesn't exist. And curiously enough, right about the time people were going, hey, how come hard drives that time held less than 256 gigs and there's 411 gigs worth of files on the hard drive that these assholes are shopping around, and all of the stuff isn't current at all. And a lot of it's in folders that are marked for release. We'll get to that in a bit. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. We're just reviewing a couple of the moments that I thought were germane, the whole thing was great. If you get a chance to watch the whole thing, it's worth it. There was some definitely edge of your seat, interesting things, especially when they started talking to the guys that they brought in as effectively like disenchanted Trumpsters who want out. A non-compressed disc. That is true as well.
Facts.
Anyways, you're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide, and I think that shows taste and breeding on your post, on your part. I'm Hal Sparks. I'm here every day, 5 days a week, and then of course, Thursday is a travel day, so it will be a late show because I will be flying to Cleveland. None of your business. No, family thing, family travel this weekend, and I'll be there through the following week. So. Believe me, there are people here to take care of the cats while I'm gone. We're doing we're just doing a family summer trip, but I will be continuing to do the show during that time. I will just be in a different time zone with slightly different gear to do it. So I appreciate your patience if anything goes south, but it should be all right. Previously on those, take a steam shit. I'm not doing a steamer in Cleveland. I will not. But I will be in Cleveland and then Kentucky right after that, and then back here. Also, there's going to be a sexy liberal in DC, like the early part of the second week. I'm not supposed to say anything, but there is.
And then there was discussion of, well, we don't have it now, but we will have it or whatever.
I mean, if it had been me sitting in his chair, I would have fired all of them that night and had them escorted out of the building.
Yeah, but if you were the president of the United States, we would have been a failed state a long time ago. Like, there is no reality where You know, if I was in charge, like that doesn't exist on any plane of existence. You know how if you've seen the Everywhere All at Once or the latest Doctor Strange movie, the one is the Jet Li movie that was way ahead of this kind of conceptual storyline of a multiverse idea, where there's a version of you doing everything you decided or didn't or decided against in every path in the world. There is no version of reality that exists in the infinite numbers of monkeys typing Shakespeare level of infinity where this nutcase is president of the United States. Doesn't happen.
Deborah and I both challenged what she was saying. And she says
how she was saying it and what it actually meant.
Well, the judges are corrupt.
By the way, people have pointed out that this picture in the background is an original, and it's the one from 50 Shades of Grey. It's on the wall in 50 Shades of Grey, apparently.
And I was like, every single case that you've done in the country you guys lost, every one of them is corrupt, even the ones we appointed. And I'm being nice. I was much more harsh to her.
So one of the other things that's been reported that was said during this meeting was that President Trump told White House lawyers, Mr. Hirschman and Mr. Cipollone, that they weren't offering him any solutions, but Ms. Powell and others were. So why not try what Ms. Powell and others were proposing? Do you remember anything?
You guys keep suggesting diet and exercise, and they keep telling me that they've got a Swiss Army knife where they could just scoop the fat out of my midsection, and she wants to crawl up my ass with a plunger and pull some of it out. At least they're giving me options here.
Along those lines being said by President Trump?
I do. That sounds right.
I think that it got to the point where the screaming was completely out there. I mean, you get people walk in, it was late at night. It's been a long
That's nice. I'm enjoying that part.
Day. And what they were proposing, I thought was nuts.
I'm gonna categorically describe it as.
I love that he was a prosecutor. He's the mayor of New York. He's been a lawyer. He was a lawyer for the president, the personal lawyer of the president. And he has to have a guy sitting there next to him giving him advice about what he should and shouldn't say. I know everybody gets a lawyer and everybody has the right to have one. But why would you fucking need one? Why do lawyers need lawyers in these situations unless they're mentally off?
You guys are not tough enough. Or maybe I put it another way, you're a bunch of pussies.
And at which point Trump got up and started grabbing them, and Rudy said,
"Excuse the expression, but I'm almost certain the word was used."
Flynn screamed at me that I was a quitter and everything, kept on standing up and turning around and screaming at me. And then at a certain point, I had it with him. So I yelled back. Either come over or sit your effing ass back down.
The president and the White House team went upstairs to the residence, but to the
okay, why is that? That's a dry erase marker and a cigar tube.
Public part of the residence, the big parlor where you can have meetings in the conference room.
Yeah, I mean, you mean the Roosevelt room or the actual conference room? Never mind.
Oval. They call it the yellow oval?
Yes, exactly. The yellow oval office. I always called it the upper.
Great. The upper decker. Sure.
And I'm not exactly sure where the Sydney group went. I think maybe the Roosevelt room. And I stayed in the cabinet room, which is kind of cool. I really like that. All by myself.
At the end of the day, we landed where we started the meeting, at least from a structural standpoint, which was Sidney Powell was fighting, Mike Flynn was fighting. It would result in President Trump remaining President Trump for a second term.
Okay, so goofy bullshit, blah, blah, blah. They did this thing where one point, let me see if I could find this, because this is long shit. This is the first, that's just the first hour of it. one of the things, all right, this is them. Okay, so the primary thing that I thought stood out the most, and I'll just jump to this part of it for you guys. The story about Trump attacking his driver that Cassidy Hutchinson said was relayed to her by his body man and one of the Secret Service guys and the driver. They don't have a name. They haven't named him yet. But the idea is that they told that story to her and she conveyed it to the committee. But the idea is that Trump was furious that they would not. He stood up there and he said, "Take me to the Capitol. And, or I'm going to walk down there with you. You guys go down there. We're going to walk down. We're going to have to fight or we're not going to have a country left, yada, yada." And he gets in the car and he says, "Take me up to the Capitol." And they go, "No way. Like, we haven't cleared that. There's weapons. You made us remove you tried to remove the magnetometers, but this is stupid. We're not going to do this." Hold on. I'm bringing up another piece of this real quick. They're like, "We're not, there's no way we're doing this." And he flips out and essentially, in theory, attacks one of these guys, or at least according to the story. And that, him saying that, spontaneously saying, "I'm going to walk down there with you," and walk being obviously code for have somebody drive me. But the idea was that it was spontaneous. That the story is that they spontaneously, he came up with this idea, screw it. I'm going down there with him. I'm acting on my own, and I'm gonna, hold on. I'm trying to find something while I mention this. So that this wasn't based on, a plan that he had. Well, now we know from the communications that they were talking about in the thing today that Trump had clearly had a conversation with other people in his office about, setting up a march to the Capitol. And they said, "You're going to have to clear it with the director of parks or whatever. And they'll have to have a permit and you'll have to participate in that permitting as part of the campaign." And in those situations, that would obviously trigger the Capitol increasing their security. Because at that point, there was no march going to the Capitol. It was just going to be there. They were just going to talk about it. And then nobody was going to the Capitol afterwards. Nobody officially. But then Trump made it official standing there. And the idea is that it was spontaneous. And then, the Secret Service agents just said, "No, we can't do that." What they showed today was this conversation about him, the information that would be needed to, get permission to actually lead a march down there and actually have give a speech on the steps or some shit, or go inside while everybody waited outside, which would be totally fucking lunacy. It would be lunacy. That essentially that was the plan. That the reason he didn't plan for it or say it is because it would have given notice to the people in the Capitol, Pelosi and Schumer and the Capitol Police and maybe Muriel Bowser and those folks, and said, and they went, "Oh shit, they're coming this way afterwards. He's going to lead these assholes down here. We're definitely going to need more security." But since he didn't do that, nobody expects the fucking president of the United States to tell his folks, like, "Follow me," like they're charging the fucking place. So they didn't think they would need it because there was no plan that day to go there. Had he made the plan known, had he gone through the actual process, that would have raised security, and the insurrection itself never would have been able to make it up the fucking steps. But the plan was, it seems, so far, and this really read out today, is that by giving, by coordinating this thing with the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers and Roger Stone through Mark Meadows in the Wilbur, that they would coordinate all this shit, and it would be artificially, it would look organic, and it would look organic from him as well. And so he would go up there and basically go, "They're not doing what we need," and then charge or whatever the fuck. Or he would or shit would start to pop off on one side of the building, and he would go to the other side of the building. Like, I'll be they bring him around to the east side of the building, and basically all the people would be coming from the, like from the up the steps, basically like trying to get to Trump through the building or some shit. Anyways, the idea is that he could declare the Insurrection Act, declare martial law, and then all those groups, the Oath Keepers and that crowd, would consider themselves, whether he did it officially or not, to be duly deputized as militias. And that's when the hangman's noose outside the place is no longer symbolic, but functioning. And so that piece of information, that bit where he knew he would have had to have a permit, and he talked about it. He specifically discussed, doing it on purpose. And they said, no, if you do that, you're going to, essentially, you're going to get in trouble with the Parks Department, and it's going to be a big deal. But it would let the people in the Capitol know that they were coming, and it would have increased security. Those National Guard troops sure as fuck would have been there if he'd have said he was coming, if they'd have planned it. So he planned it behind the scenes, and then he announced it on the stage, and he was counting on his Secret Service guys to drive him up there because they have to follow orders. And surprise, surprise, they said, fuck you, and took him back to the White House, and he tried to grab the wheel because this was the plan. Also, so the Nazis could take over, right? Yeah. But again, we must allow ourselves to relish the fact that this was a coup run by fuck-ups, carried out by fuck-ups, that never had any chance of success, even with all the conniving they could come up with. But that's the thing. The idea is that the fact that he hid that he wanted to go to the Capitol and that he was planning to do it and did an unplanned trip to the Capitol, that's what he was going to do, so that the Capitol would be understaffed for security. That was the plan. And it's becoming clearer and clearer. Let's see. Hold on one second.
What they were saying there at the plaza, just blocks from where the president sat that evening, excited for the next day.
By the way, hold on.
This is nothing less than an epic struggle for the future of this country between...
Oh, they're not showing the clips in this version of it. Hold on.
Trust me.
Yeah, they're just showing the audio. Beg your pardon. I had it all stacked up, and then they don't actually show the clips. Hold on. I will find the actual part of it, but there we go. There we go. Boink. What's it? Okay, hold on. I'll find it. Don't worry. January 6th. This is. You see. Okay. They should be showing stuff. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So, this comes up in the like Tim Pool, Salty Cracker, this asshole, that asshole, all these folks. Peter Navarro releases 36 report alleging election fraud more than sufficient to swing the victory to Trump. Blah, blah. We're going to come there. It will be wild. That shit. And everybody said taking it will be wild to be, a violent, like planned attack. Then they go, these folks, they're all getting led up to it. Give me 1 second. I have to chatter through this stuff to find where it was. But the biggest news today has to do with the fact that he was coordinating with these pricks and telling these messages. And by the way, Tim Pool, like we did a video about him the other day, and I don't watch his stuff regularly, but I was sort of shocked at how like Trump ball gargly he was. Like the Salty Cracker doesn't surprise me. Those guys are all like that. And then the Twitter employee was like, "Fuck this," which was fun. I'm gonna find this as we talk. But there's that piece? There we go. Where? Yeah. So this is calling all patriots. This is gonna be wild, and this is on the 19th. This is before Barr quits on Christmas, This is after everybody else, 5 days after everybody else has told him this shit is not going to work. And then they go through and they show all the violent assholes that are doing this. And then this is the guy who ran Donald.win.
I mean, people have been talking about going to D.C. as soon as the election was over.
And do you recall whether or not the conversation around those dates centered on the 6th after the president's tweet?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, after it was announced that, he was going to be there on the 6th to talk.
The irony, he's wearing a Reagan Bush shirt.
Yes. Then anything else was kind of shut out, and it was just going to be on the 6th.
Okay. And that was pretty clearly reflected in the content on the site?
Yeah, sure.
On that site, many shared plans and violent threats.
Okay, so they go through all these pricks. We've seen this stuff, and we've seen the folks that were leading up to these things. The important thing is, in recess, and we jump ahead. Scrolling. We're back. That guy was great. There we go. The Oath Keepers. There we go. And then there's these guys saying, get ready to go. And then Roger Stone with the Oath Keepers and all these idiots. And then and then he's talking about we're going to happen on January 6th. And then, yeah, all these folks. Basically, he's just teeing up all these conversations. I don't understand how Caroline is wrapped up in this. Weird to me. Kylie Kramer, Katrina Pearson. She goes, POTUS. But just let them crazies be crazy. You can't do anything about them. And he goes, and he likes the crazies, so she had to try and work with everyone. So she's coordinating with all these folks, and she says so. Now, good afternoon. Mind on this January 6th event. Things are gotten crazy. I desperately need some direction, please. And I think that was, and why I raised red flags. Hold on. Yeah, everybody with Alex Jones, some of the rhetoric event, the previous march they were doing. And then POTUS expectation to have some sort of intimate at the eclipse and call on everyone to march to the Capitol. This is it. This is the difference. This is the part that gets into his legal awareness and his culpability in terms of he had planned to take people there.
January 2nd call with Mr. Meadows, Katrina Pearson sent an email to fellow rally organizers. She wrote, POTUS expectations are to have something intimate at the ellipse and call on everyone to march to the Capitol. President's own documents suggest that the president had decided to call on his supporters to go to the Capitol on January 6th, but that he chose not to widely announce it until his speech on the ellipse that morning.
Okay, that's the part where we he made the decision and then he just acted on it. It's that it's the part that where he knew that if he told anybody, it would fuck the thing up.
The committee has obtained this draft, updated, undated tweet from the National Archives.
There you go. President has seen. That's the thing.
It includes a stamp stating, President has seen. The draft tweet reads, I will be making a big speech at 10 a.m. on January 6th at the ellipse south of the White House. Please arrive early. Massive crowds expected. March to the Capitol after. Stop the steal. Although this tweet was never sent, rally organizers were discussing and preparing for the march to the Capitol in the days leading up to January 6th. This is a January 4th text message from a rally organizer to Mike Lindell, the MyPillow CEO.
Yeah. This is where shit gets legally culpable. This is and again, one of the only reasons why beyond the fact that fuck ups ran the thing, but one of the only reasons why this didn't work, one of the major reasons why this didn't work is because of the idiots involved, like Mike Pillow.
The organizer says, this stays between us. We're having a second stage at the Supreme Court again after the ellipse. POTUS is going to have us march there / the Capitol. It cannot get out about the second stage because people will try and set up another and sabotage it. It can also not get out about the march because I will be in trouble with the National Park Service and all the agencies. But POTUS is going to just call for it, quote, unexpectedly.
There it is. That's it. That's That's where they're coordinating with these groups through Mark Meadows and others to get this march to happen, but they are hiding it as an official act because everybody goes, if there's some stragglers that go up there, it's, you know, if Trump never says, we're going to walk down there and I'm going to go with you, a good, I would say 2/3 of the people that actually went to the Capitol would not have gone. They would have gone home like the rest of them, but they thought he was going. They packed their shit. They didn't finish listening to the rest of his speech. They packed their fucking chair up and they started heading off. And they were effectively like the cannon fodder, the push group around the ones that went there officially, who had been coordinating ahead of time. Lindell paid for buses to get there, just like Ginny Thomas did, just like, Alex Jones and Roger Stone were organizing with the Oath Keepers. It was to get all these fuckers there, and they knew he was going to say it. Nobody else knew he was going to say it, and his own staff and his own speechwriters, he had taken it out.
The end of the message indicates that the president's plan to have his followers march to the Capitol was not being
Greg, there is no Hunter Biden laptop, just so you know.
Broadly discussed. And then on the morning of January 5th, Ali Alexander, whose firebrand style concerned Katrina Pearson,
who can take the sunrise,
sent a similar text to a conservative
sprinkle it with you
journalist.
Start an insurrection and you blame it on the Jews. Alexander can.
Mr. Alexander said, tomorrow, ellipse then U.S. Capitol. Trump is supposed to order us to the Capitol at the end of his speech, but we will see.
They're getting cues from Mark Meadows. This is why Mark Meadows is more than anybody else, is genuinely fighting having to speak. And Flynn was more than likely, the conduit for talking to Meadows. That's why he pled the fifth the most.
President Trump did follow through on his plan, using his January 6th speech to tell his supporters to march.
I knew a man, Bojangles, and he'd dance for you in worn-out shoes.
To the Capitol on January 6th. The evidence confirms that this was not a spontaneous call to action, but rather was a deliberate strategy decided upon in advance by the president.
That's it. That's the whole thing. That's the part that beyond the whole, he'd already gone through the thing where he wasn't going to be able to convince Mike Pence. So the plan seemed to shift to, I'm not going to kill him, but I might need some of these lunatics to do it for me. And they're not going to go en masse unless I tell them to go. Thanks. I do a pretty good, I should do Enter Sandman as the Sandman can. Boom. I mean it. Okay.
Another part of the president's strategy involves certain members of Congress who amplified his unsupported assertions.
Okay, the rest of this is like MTG and all that kind of stuff. I need people to understand, and this will come out more. That's why they had to move the Thursday one. There is no Thursday night primetime one. They have punted it because of more information. Enter the Candyman. That's what it is. Now I lay me down to sleep. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Hush, little baby, don't say a word. And never mind that noise you heard.
That the election had been stolen. In the weeks after the election.
But yeah, so this, I'm sorry, I'm getting, because Ali Alexander, whenever they show him, I immediately go into Sammy Davis Jr. It's amazing. The likeness is incredible. But that said, the biggest drop from this, is that piece right there. Is this, whoops, why is the volume? I don't want to move the volume. I want to move the video. Is this shit. This. They know somehow from somebody, and believe me, they've got his phones, they've got Eastman's phones, they've got Roger Stone's fucking phones. I sound just like James. Thanks. It's very nice. I didn't pay for music. It's all right. You can't, but if you is there, I'm going to end up tap dancing. Right. If only. I don't tap dance. I will never say I can't tap dance. I just have simply not tried. This is, no, I think Thursday, Thursday has been called off currently. And part of the reason is because of this shit. This is gigantic. Because this proves that Trump knew he had to circumvent the rules to get these people there. And he knew that if he didn't announce it ahead of time, security would be lower at the place that they were headed. Like that in and of itself. And by the way, the suggestion that Trump said, I offered 20,000 and they turned him down. Never happened. Fucking just a base lie. There is no evidence anywhere that he was like, you can have 10,000 National Guard troops if you want to. They never thought they needed them, and they thought it would be an overreaction, and Trump would use it politically against people like, look, I'm just having a rally and they've got 10,000 people around the Capitol. They don't want you to da-da-da. They thought it was bad optics to have all those soldiers around.
End of his speech.
Anyways, okay, so they bring in a bunch of these other, there you go.
For the joint session. The president's private schedule for December 21st, 2020 shows a private meeting with Republican members of Congress. We know that Vice President Pence, Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, and Rudy Giuliani also attended that meeting.
Thank you for the 666 super chats. We didn't even get past that one. Also, we have over 1,000. Sometimes we do a $10 super chat if you feel like doing that. If we ever hit 15,000, I'll be shocked and happy, and you could do those too. Look, 1556 in chat. Oh my God. I said if ever, and here we are. There's 2,200 people viewing on one site right now, just alone in one of the bigger ones. And by the way, if you're on Twitch, subscribe.
We obtained an email that was sent from Congressman Mo Brooks of Alabama to
fucking emails.
Mark Meadows setting up that meeting.
Mo Brooks.
The subject line is White House meeting December 21st regarding January 6th.
Mo Brooks, what a fucking douchebag. And he just lost his seat because he was insufficiently loyal to Trump.
In his email, Congressman Brooks explained that he had not asked anyone to join him in the, quote, January 6th effort. Because in his view, quote, only citizens can exert the necessary influence on senators and congressmen.
Besides, I have to go through metal detectors to come into the fucking session, and I can't carry a bat.
To join this fight against massive voter fraud and election theft. At this point, you may also recall testimony given in our earlier hearing by Acting Attorney General Richard Donahue, who said that the president asked the Department of Justice to, quote, just say that the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. According to White House visitor.
By the way, that was my favorite quote from the last hearing.
Logs obtained by the committee, members of Congress present at the White House on December 21st included Congressman Brian Babin, Andy Biggs, Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert.
Of course it did.
Paul Gosar.
Of course.
Andy Harris.
By the way.
Jody Heiss. Jim.
All people who Kevin McCarthy tried to put on the January 6th committee. And when they wouldn't let him, he refused to take part in it. He only wanted people, like the Democrats, offered it to Liz Cheney and to Kinzinger, and they said yes. But McCarthy had to add the rest, and they disavowed them. I mean, basically, they've been excommunicated from the Republican Party for even joining the fucking thing. But the only people Kevin McCarthy wanted on this committee were people that could be called as witnesses in the fucking investigation. Why? There's 210 elected Republicans in the House of Representatives. They say no to some because they're like, these fuckers were actually participants in what we're looking into. You can pick anybody else. And he's like, nope, not interested.
Jordan and Scott Perry.
Yeah, I know. We have a troll in it. It's a couple of them. It's adorable.
Then Congresswoman-elect Marjorie Taylor Greene was also there. We heard testimony.
All hands on deck.
In an early hearing that a pardon was ultimately requested by Congressman Mo Brooks and other members of Congress who attended this meeting. We've asked witnesses what happened during the December 21st meeting. And we've learned that part of the discussion centered on the role of the vice president during the counting of the electoral votes.
Yeah, hold on. MTG video after White House meeting December 2020. Where is it? This video statement, White House. No, that's the wrong one. Okay. Let's see. I've got to go to videos.
Just finished with our meetings here at the White House this afternoon. We had a great planning session for our January 6th objection. We aren't going to let this election be stolen by Joe Biden and the Democrats.
By the way, she was elected for the first time in that fucking election in Georgia.
President Trump won by a landslide. Call your House reps, call your senators from your states. We've got to make sure they're on board, and we already have a lot of people engaged. Okay.
We got a lot of people engaged.
Okay, stay tuned.
Yeah, this is her. Here's the video of Marjorie Taylor Greene at the White House in late December 2020 saying she had a great planning session. That's what they're talking about. This is what they're discussing.
These members of Congress were discussing what would later be known as the Eastman theory, which was being pushed by attorney John Eastman.
Right. It's right up there between the concept that carbon-14 dating is off by 10,000 years and that humans and dinosaurs coexisted because there are in some wetlands what looks like human footprints inside dinosaur footprints that were chiseled there 1,000 years ago.
In one of our earlier hearings, you heard in great detail that President Trump was trying to convince
string cheese theory, that's right.
Vice President Pence to do something illegal. His White House counsel confirmed all of that in testimony last week.
Your view, Mr. Cipollone, upon those discussions with Mr. Philbin.
Wait a minute, Regis Philbin was involved in this as well? I thought he'd passed away before all this happened. Don't tell me he was... Is it Clinton body count? Clinton body count.
Right, Jacob, what was your assessment as to what the vice president could or could not do at the joint session?
Donald Trump running for office comes down here and is now our guest on Who Wants to Be a Second Termer.
Wait, how you doing, sir?
What was my assessment about what?
By the way, who are they shooting outside? Is this happening actually during the insurrection?
What was
doesn't it? It sounds like someone's being shot outside. It's very weird.
My assessment about what you could or couldn't do.
Yes.
Stop the goddamn hammering. It's a Scrooged reference I saw go by.
Your view of the issue.
My view is that the vice president didn't have the legal authority to do anything except what he did.
They've both told us, Mr. Philbin and Mr. Jacob, that they looked very closely at the Eastman memos.
And after they stopped laughing,
Eastman theory and thought that it had no basis, that it was not a strategy that the president should pursue. It sounds like that's consistent with your impression as well.
My impression would have been informed certainly by them.
And you'd think the president would have too. Troll booth. By the way, we welcome the trolls around here. I understand they get very upset because we don't get upset. I don't know quite how. Thank you, Gwen. I don't know how to make them feel better. Trump lost horribly. Of his own. He's aware. He knew it. His family knew it before all this bullshit. By the way, watch the documentary. They say as much. The family was aware months ahead that the polls showed he was fucked, and they lined up with exactly what happened.
Campaign senior advisor Jason Miller told us that Mr. Cipollone...
Jason Miller. The dude who dosed a stripper with the abortion pill because she was pregnant with his kid and he didn't want to have it. By the way, this is who Trump hired. Trump hired that dude. Trump, you realize that, right? Right about the time he was hiring Paul Manafort who came up with the idea to put snipers in rooftops and agent provocateurs in the crowd in 2014 during the Euromaidan to give Yanukovych a predicate for opening fire on citizens. Hashtag the best people. Hashtag butter emails.
Thought John Eastman's theories were nutty, something Mr. Cipollone wouldn't refute.
Nutty as a squirrel turd.
We've received testimony from various people about this.
Shut up and do it. Sorry, what? Regarding the bank things, might just some of the rest of the world serve the weekend. It usually happens. Okay, there we go.
One was Jason Miller, who was on the campaign, said that the way it was communicated to me was that Pat Cipollone thought the idea was nutty, and at one point confronted Eastman basically with the same sentiment.
I don't have any reason to contradict what he said.
On January 4th, John Eastman went to the White House to meet with the president and vice president. Mr. Cipollone tried to participate in this meeting, but he was apparently turned away.
Yeah, he doesn't admit to being turned away, because that would be basically what you're going to find out in this little clip is that Trump kicked him out of that meeting, which is why he thinks it's covered by privilege.
You didn't go to the meeting in the Oval Office where Eastman met with the president and with the vice president. Do you remember why you didn't personally attend?
I did walk to that meeting, and I did go into the Oval Office with the idea of attending that meeting, and then I ultimately did not attend that meeting.
Mm-hmm. Why would that be? Who of the people that were there would have the right or ability to make you leave that meeting?
Why not?
The reasons for that are privilege.
Trump told him to fuck off.
Okay. Were you asked to not attend the meeting, or did you make a personal decision not to attend the meeting?
Again, without getting into privilege.
Yeah. Trump told him not to come into the meeting. He kicked him out because he was circumventing reality, and Patsy Baloney represents material reality.
Recall that Greg Jacob, the vice president's counsel, stated that—
By the way, Mrs. Murphy, you're killing it. Congressman Murphy, you're killing it. She did great today. It was nice to see them highlighting her. Just saying.
That Mr. Eastman acknowledged he would lose 9-0 if his legal theory were—
Let it troll down the highway. Let it troll, let it troll. They can't bullshit anymore.
Challenged in the Supreme Court. Mr. Cipollone had reviewed Mr. Eastman's legal theory and expressed his view repeatedly that the vice president was right. He even offered to take the blame for the vice president's position.
Yeah, this was amazing. This is like Cipollone's like, just put it on me. I'm a lawyer. They'll leave you alone.
I thought that the vice president.
The documentary is called Unprecedented, and the footage from that, all the recorded footage, has been made available to the January 6th committee, which includes 11 hours of interviews and following around the Trumps, including a couple of places where you see in the actual documentary, which you can watch on Discovery Plus. If you have Hulu, that's one of the addendum channels, or if you have it on your cable package, it's on there right now. All the episodes are out, and if you've been following along with me, you're not going to learn anything new from it. You're just going to be grossed out by how Trump looks, because he looks like an orange saddlebag. It's the most honest camera work you've ever seen of the man, and it's, whew. But and it's a lot of Ivanka rehab, and then Eric and the sort of, it makes it about the family being next in line, almost like a Godfather kind of a story. Like they're all fighting for his love, and therefore they're trying to, and they use it to get him to come out. Like they film all this footage with the kids, following them around and interviewing them, and then they show Trump on an iPad so we can watch the footage, and you see him respond to some of it. And again, it's more of that weird shit where he responds to his own children like they're strangers or employees. It's super weird. If you haven't seen it yet, or if you have seen it, is that fair, my assessment? And if you haven't seen it yet, I'm curious afterwards.
Did not have the authority to do what was being suggested under a proper reading of the law.
Yeah, gee, I wonder why he was kicked out of the meeting.
I conveyed that.
By the way, kicked out of the meeting. kicked out of a meeting with the vice president.
I think I actually told somebody that, in the vice president's, just blame me. This is, I'm not a politician, I don't, but I just said, I'm a lawyer. This is my legal opinion. But let me tell you this. Can I say a word about the vice president?
Please.
I think the vice president did the right thing. I think he did the courageous thing. I have a great deal of respect for Vice President Pence. I worked with him very closely. I think he understood my opinion. I think he understood my opinion afterwards as well. I think he did a great service to this country.
By the way, for a second, I'm no fan of Mike Pence's politics or his ideas. I find it gross the way he just kind of looked on while Trump pulled all this bullshit. But I'm glad he at least had a last straw. I'm glad he, because everybody has a line and Trump somehow fucking manages to find it. Like if you look at all the women who've worked with other Republicans, Trump managed to find the line they would not cross. And he did it with Pence as well. And I think Pence might have been in one of these situations where he thought Trump is a harmless vessel for the works of God, and therefore, as much as he's an asshole, I'll run, he basically ran the coronavirus response in a lot of ways, thinking, well, he's given me this, so he won't fuck around too much. And even though he yells at governors, I'll make sure they get what they need. And yet, and he's just a personality thing. But once he saw it actually activated and put into a situation where Trump's lack of character and his basically disgusting nature was going to have a physical impact, a genuine impact on our democracy, he was like, all right, I can't. And that's good. That is a good thing. That's good that happened. And Patsy Baloney wanted to be in, that meeting and would have backed up Pence in that situation. Pence could have laid off that pressure a little bit on Cipollone, but Trump kicked him out, and so Pence had to stand on his own. I would never want Pence in an elected office again, and I don't think he's shown the kind of conscientious thought required to be a governor of people again. But in the crunch moment, he was a human.
And I think I suggested this.
Imagine if Bannon had been VP. Well, if Bannon had run as VP, Trump would have lost it. We wouldn't even be talking about this. In many ways, Trump isn't president without Pence being his evangelical sidecar. Not possible. You couldn't take even a DeSantis and run them together, because Pence was specifically there to reassure the evangelicals that this guy would do the right thing.
Somebody that he should be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom for his act.
By the way, he says that Pence should get the Presidential Medal of Freedom. I think that Biden on his way out of office in 6 years should give Pence the Presidential Medal of Freedom on his way out the door for that. I think it's hilarious. Trust me. For all the other stuff, there's reason not. But can you imagine the explosion, the freak out Trump would have in his cell?
Earlier this year, a federal district court judge concluded that President Trump and Mr. Eastman rely.
Can I just have, we have trolls. I can troll a little bit. I think you can troll with that kind of stuff. And like I said, in the moment, in the crunch, he did something. He laid, in many ways, Pence, it wouldn't be outside the realm of reality that it could have cost him his life. We're going to have, Biden's going to get reelected, just so you know.
Mr. Eastman's theory, more likely than not, violated multiple federal criminal laws in their pressure campaign against the vice president. Also recall earlier in this hearing, we saw that Rudy Giuliani's team did not have actual evidence of fraud sufficient to change the result of the election.
But they did have a hard drive with some child porn on it that had been put there by some Russians that they'd bought in Ukraine, and he was busy copying and disseminating child porn for a month and a half during that period when the election had gone south. like during, up to, and after the election. Just for the record.
That's important because as January 6th approached, the Republican members of the House and Senate were looking for reason to object.
45 is declaring within 3 months. Won't happen, Lucius. Won't happen. He can't afford it. The minute he declares, Trump can no longer take Save America PAC money. He can't. And right now, he's burned through all the money that they got in 2021 defending himself.
To the electors, and no real evidence was ever given to them. And we know that Republican members of the House received a memorandum from the chairwoman of the House Republican Caucus in the days before January 6, explaining in detail the many constitutional and legal problems with objections and describing the principal judicial rulings dismissing the claims of widespread fraud. But their plan to object to the certification of the election on January 6 went forward anyway.
Carried out by morons.
The next day, on January 5th, the day before the attack on the Capitol, tens of thousands of people converged on Washington. While certain closest...
And again, we don't have to watch the whole thing of this. They're going to, let's see. They're going to grab, which part is that? Hold on. Yeah, so Steve Bannon calls him. They have that conversation that morning. On January 5th. Later in the day, Mark Meadows does a video call with more than likely it was Mike Flynn and Steve Bannon, because Roger Stone was saying I didn't have any call and blah, 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 which means he doesn't consider FaceTime or Zoom an actual call. Yeah, this is the shit.
And said that day
after the meeting, they had a call at 8:57 and then to 9:08. And then he's basically, it's on. I'm going to tell him to go down to the Capitol, whichever point this was. And then during his, the War Room podcast, he says this.
After the first call he had with the president.
All hell is going to break loose tomorrow. It's all converging, and now we're on, as they say, the point of attack, right? The point of attack tomorrow.
Yeah, that's not a good thing in a democracy during the peaceful transfer of power. That's not something to be proud of, to even have to say, even if it was necessary or real. But this flip fuck knew he was going to be watching this shit pop off from the warm side of a bay window with absolutely no wrinkled, spotty skin in the game.
I'll tell you this.
Yeah, we're all waiting with bated breath.
It's not going to happen like you think it's going to happen, okay? It's going to be quite extraordinarily different. And all I can say is strap in.
Strap on, I think, because what Trump's going to do to you guys is he's going to grease you up and aim for penetration, as Turkish would say.
From those same phone logs, we know that the president and Mr. Bannon spoke again on the phone that evening, this time for 6 minutes.
Yeah, a shorter call, but louder.
That same day on the...
You fuck up! You promised me! Well, you were supposed to join them. Well, I didn't...
The eve of...
They wouldn't let me.
January 6th, supporters of President Trump gathered in Washington, D.C. at another rally. This rally was held at Freedom Plaza, which is located near the White House, and featured some of the speakers who Katrina Pearson and others deemed too extreme to share the stage with the president the next morning.
Yeah, they had to split it.
And as this rally was underway, the president asked members of his staff to come to the Oval Office. Let's hear from the White House aides who were in the Oval Office that night.
By the way, this is where they're having the big one. This is where the lunatics are. You see the placement? They didn't go, hey, you guys can meet here, and then you guys will be further away over here. They arranged for them to be closer.
I was in the office, in the Oval Office, and he had asked me to open the door so that he could hear. I guess.
Thanks so much. Hold on. Somebody just super chatted and I missed it. 1 second. I missed a few because I've been doing clips and whatnot. Hold on. And whatnot. Where is it? It went right by. Pence is a creepy dude. Yeah, no, I agree. 1.6 in the chat. Look at you guys. Welcome. Thank you for being here. If you're Steph Heads or Midas Touch folks or any of the other shows, thank you for joining me here. I greatly appreciate it. It means a lot. This is HAL Sparks Mega Worldwide. I'm on 5 days a week. I'm an upstart. I'm a young and up-and-coming professional YouTuber. You can tell by having my rap down. If you want to support the show, patreon.com/HalSparks, which actually gets you a free comedy show every month when I live stream them. And of course, you can also come to shows and bring a guest for free, among other things.
Yes, there was a concert or a rap or something going on.
Did he say anything other than just open the door?
He made a comment. I don't remember specifically what he said, but there's a lot of energy.
When we walked in.
This is the night before. He was super fucking excited when he talked to Bannon that night. Those two calls were on the 5th. So the night before, he was like, yeah, we're doing it. I'm going to tell everybody to go down.
The staff was.
Serenity, freedom. Please cut your hair. No. Once we get through this and there's no end to the world, then maybe.
Kind of standing up and assembled along the wall, and the president was at the desk.
Dictating a tweet, like you and I do.
And Dan Scavino was on the couch. And
that's the moment. She's really talking about this happening. That's what it looked like. That's the actual time. Somebody took this fucking picture of exactly what she's describing.
The president was dictating a tweet that he wanted.
Like the man of the people that he is.
Scavino to send out. Then
the only guy allowed to sit.
The president started talking about the rally the next day. He had the door of the Oval open to the Rose Garden because you could hear the crowd already assembled outside on the ellipse.
It never gets old.
They were playing music, and it was so loud that you could feel it shaking in the Oval. He was in a very good mood, and I say that because he had not been in a good mood for weeks leading up to that.
You, Francie.
And then it seemed like he was in a fantastic mood that evening.
Because he thought the next day a war was going to start, and he was going to lead it.
He asked if members of Congress would.
By the way, this is when they had the conversation. This is the day they had the conversation about don't put it in the speech. Don't tell anybody we're going to go. I'm going to spontaneously say this, and then that will be the cue. You, Ali Alexander, whoever else they're coordinating with, Mike Flynn, his crowd, the Oath Keepers, they're all going to go up there. They'll start early because they'll be at that other section, and those lunatics already know they have marching orders. And then I'll send the other people to back them up.
Be with him tomorrow.
And what do you understand by meaning voting in his favor as opposed to physically with him or anything like that?
Yeah, I took that to mean not voting to certify the election.
Then he did look to the staff and ask for ideas of how, if I recall, he said that we could make the rhinos do the right thing.
I would, obviously you cut off their horn and you use it to give yourself an erection. I think that's the only...
Is the way he phrased it. And...
Thanks, Benny Loco, for rubbing it in.
No one spoke up initially because I think everyone was trying to process what that he meant.
Hal, please book a show at Hyenas in Dallas or Fort Worth. I'm friends with the MC and would love to see you. I'm for it, Mark. Hyenas in Dallas or Fort Worth. You got it.
By that?
The president was making notes then, talking then about...
Oh, she took the picture we all got to look at.
We should go up to the Capitol. What's the best route to go to the Capitol?
I said he should focus on policy accomplishments. I didn't mention it.
What was his response?
He acknowledged that and said we've had a lot. Something along those lines. And
more than anyone else in the history of governance that existed.
Thank you, Joe's Space. By the way, hi, Twitch people. Please don't forget to subscribe or at least follow. Bounce us around up there. If you're seeing me in your feed right now because you're going by on Twitch, come on in. Come on in.
But then he fairly quickly moved to how fired up the crowd is. was going to be. And what did he say about it? Just that they were fired up, they were angry, they feel like the election has been stolen.
And they were out for blood, and that was a good thing.
The election was rigged. Did he give you any indication of how he knew that the crowd was fired up or angry? He continued to reference being able to hear them outside.
Because he'd left the door open so he could hear them.
Through the open door of the Oval Office, the president could hear the sound of the crowd and the music at the rally at the Freedom Plaza. And these are some of the things that they were saying.
Don't you tread on me. Don't you tread on me. Quit it.
They're at the plaza, just blocks from where the president sat that evening, excited for the next day.
This is nothing less than...
All right, again, come the fuck on. Dude's got a Nixon tattoo, has hated Democrats since the 70s, and he's dressed like a fucking gangster on his way to ask for a favor.
Roger, you come to me so often. You ask me to fix all these petty things. You wear a pinstripe that makes all my mom. Look, Joey the fish is vomiting. He's kicking up his spongellini all over my floor. And you come in with this giant zoot suit nonsense. Honest to God, I thought you were behind bars when I was looking at you, the horror. The horror.
In an epic struggle for the future of this country between...
I'm basically a rapper with coke jaw.
Dark and light.
Sort of.
Between the godly and the godless.
Trump's an atheist, I'm just saying. And a Darwinian atheist. Not even a I just don't believe kind of a thing. He's a fake Christian who believes in Darwinism. Just saying. The Bible actually warns you about people like that.
Between good and evil.
Right, yes. I think the peaceful transfer of power based on the will of the people is good. Therefore...
And we will win this fight, or America would step off into 1,000 years of darkness.
Tomorrow, trust me, the American people that are standing on the soil that we are standing on tonight.
You're on a stage, sir. It's largely a rubber mat stretched across plywood and a metal frame.
And they're going to be standing on this soil tomorrow. This is soil
by the
that we have fought for, and we will fight for in the future.
This is a blood and soil comment, by the way.
The members of Congress,
I'm so excited. I'm air horning. I'm gonna make my cat come out here if I'm not careful. Hold on one second. I think I have something. Sorry, I need. Sorry, Mike Flynn. I didn't give you enough. There you go. Is that, you feel better? You feel more? Is that enough? Is that douchey enough for you? Just yeah, bro. We're taking it. Tomorrow's the day. All right.
members of the House of Representatives, the members of the United States Senate, those of you who are feeling weak tonight, those of you that don't have the moral fiber in your body,
or where, even in a box that you keep under the bed that needs new batteries, but you haven't changed them in a while, but you can't leave them in there because eventually they'll corrode.
Get some tonight because tomorrow
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to wake up your cat. I apologize.
The people are going to be here, and we want you to know that we will not stand for a lie. We will not stand for a lie.
You will walk and attack people for it, though, I suppose.
I want them to know
that you can take the sunrise.
That 1776 is always an option.
1776 is after the war, technically, when the Constitution... Well, never mind. Now, 1776 wasn't the focus of the actual fighting. It was the creation of something instead of the destruction of something. It was actually... the reason that especially July 4th, 1776 is important is because it was literally a celebration of the document these assholes attacked the next day. 1776 is the new 2012.
These degenerates in the deep state are going to give us what we want, or we are going to shut this country down.
Yes, they're not. They aren't going to show up at the asshole store.
It's 1776.
Which I'm fairly certain is his cholesterol.
1776.
Oh, 76. I'm sorry. I thought it was so 1776. Oh, I guess. Is that 1770 sex? That's Matt Gates's future that he dreams of. He hopes when he's 70, he's still having sex with 17-year-olds. Is that where you're going?
1776.
You just want him to go, I don't want to, I wish no harm on anybody, but just a mild vapor lock would have been hilarious.
1776.
Anyways, where was I? Oh, yeah. Thank God we have a see-through podium so you can make out my svelte InfoWars dick pill body. Just like these goofy fucking cosplayers.
At 5:05 p.m., as the Freedom Plaza rally was underway just blocks away, President Trump tweeted, "Washington is being inundated with people who don't want to see an election victory stolen."
Inundated? All right.
By
Why don't you just say invaded and fuck it? All right.
emboldened radical left Democrats. Our country has had enough. They won't take it anymore. To the crowds gathering in D.C., he added, "We hear you and love you from the Oval Office." The committee has learned that on January 5th, there were serious concerns at Twitter about the anticipated violence the next day.
Oh, and then they go into the Twitter dude who's like, I was scared. They're going to kill people. These people are assholes. It was a former employee of Twitter. Oh, and this is Debbie Lasko. This is the woman who said she'd shoot her grandkids. Yeah. Which I to protect gun rights. And apparently, it was one of the few moments I had to come out and kind of question my commitment to pro-choice ideas, because I'm very pro-choice, but I just happen to think that aborting a fetus in the 48th trimester is a bit extreme.
Election results.
I also asked leadership to come up with a safety plan for members.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I'm actually very concerned about
Totally concerned about this.
Because we got who knows how many hundreds of thousands of people,
hundreds of thousands of Antifas
coming here. We have Antifa.
Lots of Antifa. So, and they're going to obviously be mixing in amongst the Trump crowd, the Antifa folks, because nothing will happen to an Antifa person who's walking around Trumpies and maggots.
We also have, quite honestly,
my biggest concern is not so much these rail-thin rich kids from suburbs who like to dress up in black clothing and throw cans of soup. My biggest concern is my own constituents who apparently are ready to murder everyone.
Trump supporters who actually believe that we are going to overturn the election. And when that doesn't happen, most likely will not happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
They are going to go nuts.
Go nuts. They're already nuts. They're just going to act on their nuttiness. They're going to chuck nuts. They're going to bust a nut.
That same evening, as President Trump listened to
that actually hurts my cheeks to do that.
The rally from the Oval Office.
Rich kids? Yes, rich kids. Peanut butter hates me. Like a ton of the Portland kids that were out there every night are well-to-do, like kids from the suburbs of Portland. That's who I'm referencing.
He was also working on his speech to be delivered the next day. And based on documents we've received from the National...
People who like to cosplay as homeless by sacking on a friend's couch.
Archives, including multiple drafts of the president's speech, as well as from witness testimony, we understand how that speech devolved into a call to action and a call to fight.
It evolved into a cover your ass speech where it would remove the parts and he could just say them extemporaneously, knowing that in past he kind of gets off script, and then they would just count it up as that. And if it failed, it wasn't on him. They're the ones that are going to actually go down there and get their ass kicked.
One of the first edits President Trump made to his speech was to incorporate his 5:05 p.m. tweet, revising his speech to say, "All of us are here today, do not want to see our election victory stolen by emboldened radical left Democrats. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore." He also added, "Together, we will stop the steal." President Trump's edits continued into the morning of January 6th. And as you can see from the president's daily diary here, the president spoke to his chief speechwriter, Stephen Miller, for over 25 minutes that morning.
From a coffin that he lays in the basement of the White House.
Following his call with Mr. Miller,
can't go out in the sun.
President Trump inserted for the first time a line in his speech that said, quote, "And we will see whether Mike Pence enters history as a truly great and courageous leader. All he has to do is refer the illegally submitted electoral votes back to the states that were given false and fraudulent information where they want to recertify." No prior version of this speech had referenced Vice President Pence or his role during the joint session on January 6th. These last-minute edits by President Trump to his speech were part of the president's pressure campaign against his own vice president.
Yeah, because he failed to do it in person.
But not everyone
Hal, what do you think the chances are that any of these traitors try to flee the country? A bunch of them don't have anywhere to go. You know, and the irony is that they've made their bones as, you know, I mean, unless you're talking about like Roger Stone or Steve Bannon. I think Bannon made a deal with Trump, like, I'm going to go in there and tell him everything. And I know Roger Stone's not going to say anything because he'd be in big as trouble as I am. But if any of us decides to turn on you, you're fucked. So you either pay my legal bills for fighting this subpoena, or you write me a letter that says you are allowing me to speak, because if I voluntarily do it, your supporters are going to fuck me. And so I'm actually going to, I'm not going to do, I'm going to fight this. If you pay for it, I'm going to go in there, but you got to let me off the hook. Otherwise, these assholes are going to go after me.
Wanted these lines regarding the vice president included in the president's speech, including White House lawyer Eric Hirschman.
Did you ever? Well, Benny Loco, there are a lot of places they can go. I just don't think there's a lot of places they will go.
Speak to anybody in the White House at the time about this disagreement between the president and the vice president, other than the president, based on the objection from your counsel?
I'm sitting in a room that I created that has a frightening and weird piece of art on the wall, 2 light switches and 1 chair. There's also a buckle attachment on the middle of the floor and a few stains that bring me back to important memories that I've had, and they distract me from what was your question again?
Maybe had a brief conversation about it with Eric Hirschman.
Tell me about that. What do you remember him saying to you about this disagreement?
I just remember him saying that that he had a I don't want to get this wrong. Sort of something to the effect of thinking that it would be counterproductive. I think he thought to discuss the matter publicly.
So it came up in the context of editing the president's speech on January the 6th?
I just came up with the conversation where Eric knew it was in the speech, and so he had a sidebar with me about it.
No. Did he now? He had a sidebar with me about it.
The speechwriter,
take that shit out or we're in legal trouble, dum-dum.
Writers took that advice and removed the lines about Vice President Pence. And later that morning at 11:20 a.m., President Trump had a phone call with the vice president. And as the committee detailed in an earlier hearing, that phone call was...
Come on, I'm dying here. Just do it. Your life doesn't matter, mine does. Come on. I can't have it be that I actually
became president, and it was one of the biggest mistakes of my life. What a fucking loser I am. How did this happen? How am I here in this moment?
Was, by all accounts, tense and heated. During this call, the vice president told
During the call, the president was freaking out, and Mike Pence yawned 4 times.
President that he would not attempt to change the outcome of the election. In response, the president called the vice president of the United States a wimp and other derogatory words. As you can see in this email,
that had no impact whatsoever.
After
reinsert the Mike Pence lines confirmed. Fuck that guy.
Vice President Pence told President Trump that he would not unilaterally deliver him a second term in office.
Please post those emails all the way through. I want to see the whole. I want to see the email chains that these things were like.
Were directed to reinsert the Mike Pence lines. Here's how one of the speechwriters described President Trump's last-minute change to the speech.
He wiped his ass with the draft I gave him, and then he screamed as he ran around dictating tweets to nobody that was there. Scavino had left 2 hours ago. He was completely fucking hungover. And then Trump ran out on the lawn in his underwear yelling, 3 doors down, where are you?
And as I recall, there was a very tough sentence about the vice president that was added.
President Trump wanted to use his speech to attack Vice President Pence in front of a crowd of thousands of angry supporters.
That he was going to direct towards the building the guy was in. But he knew if he had written that down, they would block the building the guy was in because they would know that people were coming. So he left that out of the speech so that he could just wing it and send people up. Yeah.
Who had been led to believe the election was stolen. When President Trump arrived at the...
By the way, thank you guys for the super chats. And Facebook, I know you guys are mostly trolls these days, but I appreciate the stars. I do.
...lips to deliver his speech, he was still worked up from his call with Vice President Pence. And although Ivanka Trump...
He was so busy making soup in his diaper.
...would not say so, her chief of staff gave the committee some insight into the president's frustration.
Mm-hmm.
It's been reported that you ultimately decided to attend the rally because you hoped that you would calm the president and keep the event on an even keel.
Yeah, by the way, this is a total bullshit rehab story because she can make up whatever she was thinking in those days. I honestly don't think she was on board with any kind of violent insurrection. I don't know that she kind of gave a rat's ass, but she's trying to paint herself in retrospect as the attempted peacemaker again, because she's trying to salvage the brand so that after he passes away, because he's an old dude, she can take it over and turn Trump back into a glamour brand free of his toxic bullshit.
Is that accurate?
Because you watch, she's going to muscle Don and Eric out of control of the company when he passes away. Just know that, like, count on it.
No, I don't know who said that or where that came from.
What did she share with you about why it was concerning that her father was upset or agitated after that call with Vice President Pence?
Because she's seen him be that way, and he does really awful shit when he's like that.
She
knows it because she's his kid.
Rally. Why did that matter? Why did he have to be calmed down, I should say?
Well,
because he has the button. I mean, what the fuck?
She shared that he had called the vice president and not an expletive word. I think that
it's just an expletive. Expletive word is redundant.
Bothered her, and I think she could tell based on the conversations and what was going on in the office that he was
losing his shit.
Angry and upset, and people were providing misinformation.
Oh, she means Sidney Powell and all those groups. They were feeding him a line of bullshit that gave him false hope. And false hope, you give false hope to a lunatic like him, it's not good. Because when it doesn't pan out, that's how you get Jonestown.
And she felt like she might be able to help calm the situation down. At least before he went on to stage.
And then it was too late.
The president did go on stage, and then he gave the speech that he wanted to give. It included the formal changes he had requested the night before and in that morning, but also many important last-minute ad-lib changes. A single scripted reference in the speech to Mike Pence became 8. A single scripted reference to rally-goers marching to the Capitol became 4, with President Trump ad-libbing that
by the way, Spring Whitney, I would love for Baby Hal to explain this, but for some reason there's a glitch with my face filter stuff right now with my broadcast software. I've been working on it and it doesn't work. Yeah.
he would be joining the protesters at the Capitol. Added throughout his speech were references to fighting and the need for people to have courage and to be strong.
Mm-hmm.
The
Not him, of course. He was just going to go down there and go that way, you know, kind of like a shitty magician where all the stagehands and his assistants do all the work. They climb into the tiny boxes, they disappear, they get sawed in half, and he just points at stuff and goes, "Hey." Yeah.
The word peacefully was in the staff-written script and used only once. Here are some of these ad-lib changes that the president made to his speech.
Because you'll never take back our country with weakness. You have to show strength and you have to be strong. So I hope Mike has the courage to do what he has to do. And I hope he doesn't listen to the rhinos and the stupid people that he's listening to. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. But we're going to try and give our Republicans, the weak ones, because the strong ones don't need any of our help. We're going to try and give them the kind of pride and boldness that they need to take back our country.
And fear for their lives. Essentially, that's what he means.
So let's walk down Pennsylvania Avenue.
White House counsel Pat Cipollone and his deputy did not attend the speech, and they were concerned that the statements in the speech about the election were false. In fact, the message that President Trump delivered that day was built on a foundation of lies. He lied to his supporters that they...
Yeah, you mean a foundation of lies. His career, the idea that he wrote The Art of the Deal, the fact that he lost more money in real estate in New York than anyone in history, the year he actually wrote Art of the Deal, the fact that he had to borrow money from the trust fund of his brother and sister to keep the lights of Trump Tower on.
The election was stolen. He stoked their anger. He called for them to fight for him. He directed them to the U.S. Capitol. He told them he would join them. And his supporters
which was a big lie.
Believed him, and many headed towards the Capitol.
Yeah. And again, the reason he had to mention this, I'll get this Brad Parscale. By the way, hold on. Just in case you don't know who Brad Parscale is, if I may. Brad Parscale was his Trump's campaign manager. If I may, hold on 1 second.
Yo.
That's Brad Parscale, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, come out here. That's fine.
I'm your friend.
All right, relax.
What's up? Okay.
What's going on?
She fucking...
Let's stand in the shade.
Okay, don't do this.
I'm not doing anything. Relax. What happened?
So, she started saying all this shit.
Hey, get on the ground, man. Get on the ground. Get on the ground.
Get on the ground, man.
Oh, Jesus. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
Stay down. Put your hands behind your back. Put your hands behind your back.
Hey, we'll figure it all out, all right? Don't worry about it.
Here's what happens. If the cop says come out and talk to you and you're holding something in your hand, either drop it or put it down. And then if you're going to show them that you're not armed, especially if the concern was his wife was saying he's been in the house, he's been shooting the gun and he's going to do himself in and blah, blah, blah. And he came out and he's managing to keep his back away from the person. And so the cops circled around him and took him down.
I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything.
That's yes, you did. You were Trump's campaign manager. It's not right. By the way, so anyways, this dude, yeah, His fly was open. That's right.
Go on just a second, okay?
So, whoops, hold on. I don't want that. Don't play that one. Play this one. So, this is about Trump pushing for uncertainty in our country. This is where he had like a moment of clarity.
In our country. A sitting president asking for civil war. And then when he said, "This week I feel guilty for helping him win," Katrina Pearson responded, "You did what you felt right at the time, and therefore it was right." Mr. Pascal added, "Yeah, but a woman is dead. And yeah."
This is the fucked up thing. Look what Katrina Pearson says. Look at that. The fuck?
If I was Trump and I knew...
Why did she skip saying that? Yeah, but a woman is dead. Katrina Pearson's response is fucked up. Look at that. You do realize this was going to happen.
Yeah, but a woman is dead. And yeah, if I was Trump and I knew my rhetoric killed someone. When Ms. Pearson replied, "It wasn't the rhetoric," Mr. Pascal said, "Katrina, yes, it was." Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Again, like Pascal comes across as somebody who's actually got a conscience about it. And later on, by the way, when that takedown would happen, it was because he was allegedly suicidal, according to his wife or whomever had called in the fact that he was a threat to others and to himself and that he was being violent and all that kind of shit. And the fact that he was having, and on January 6th at night, 7:20 p.m., he's saying, "Yeah, but a woman is dead." And Katrina Pearson's response at 7:21, a minute later, is, "You do realize this was going to happen." What? That because Trump was fucking president? You do realize this was going to happen. I don't know what the fuck that is. That's so nuts. Anyways, and I think they wrap it up and they bring these guys in, and both of these guys are like, "This was wrong, yada, yada." So that part was interesting. This is about them trying to land the plane with Trump supporters. Both of these guys, Van Tatenhove was asked to design a deck of playing cards that's basically a kill list. If you recall the Iraq, let's see, deck of cards. It'll probably come up in this situation. If you remember, there was Stuart Rhodes from the Proud Boys wanted to create a deck of cards with basically that would have all the Democrats they wanted dead, and everybody would carry a pair, a set with them. In the deck of card stuff, they're referencing, the Iraq deck of cards that had Osama bin Laden and all of his deputies, so that if you were in country, you could have a deck of cards on you at all times, and you could play with them and use them and yada yada. But they would have a picture list. It was the easiest way to create a picture list of heavy targets during the war. And what he wanted, Hillary was going to be the Queen of Hearts, but they wanted these guys wanted him to make a version for them so they would know who they were going to do in. And he refused. Good on him for doing that. And he turned against. And then this other guy, Ayers, this guy, which reeks of a dude who's like, "This is my first time wearing a suit. It's fun." Since my arraignment, I suppose. Basically, this was about showing some of the people who he even says he had blinders on, and he went to the Capitol because he was, he believed all this stuff, and now he's kind of woken up from it, and he wants other people to recognize he was being scammed and all this kind of stuff. Now, granted, you have to take it with a grain of salt because of what this guy was accused of, and it might have been, as part of his plea deal, he's got to show some sense of remorse and an awareness that what he did was wrong. And this certainly goes a long way towards this. I appreciate that you're not related, Elizabeth. But again, this is about both of these guys. This is about both of them helping the Trumpsters who may have gone to the Capitol steps but didn't engage in attacks. Getting those folks, hold on, is this... What in the fuck? This footage, hold on. Getting those guys to decide, to sort of be a voice for the maggots that can walk away, the ones that were at the ellipse, but they didn't actually engage in the attack, so that they drop it and move on.
And then tried to use
What is this? Oh, this is WCNC, whatever the channel is that's covering this.
For the
they accidentally cut to footage. That's their host is coming in. They know this is ending.
that the election had been stolen from them.
And somebody,
some of them then
leaned on the switcher.
Tried to use
Marge, you're on. Marge, you're on. Marge.
Out for the American people.
Fuck. Like, there was definitely somebody going, what the had a very strong Mr. Bean moment.
And for the historic.
Chandra, you're live, right? Okay. And then the rest of this is their statements going out or whatever. I just wanted to cover a bunch of that. I had a bunch of other stuff to cover today, but there was so much to this. And yeah. We'll cover the rest of the stuff tomorrow, because it's not that it's gonna change much. But I wanted to show you guys the kind of, is this the title of this? Yeah. So just to give you a little precursor, this is that video I showed you earlier of the live stream from the Young Turks. Biden's solution for women losing their rights is beyond pathetic. Okay. Again, you don't have singular power as the executive, and the voters, especially the Young Turks voters, have been inconsistent for decades. Anyways, I'll throw you to Maddo. Yes, I'll get. And then this whole thing, Biden spits in the face of activists that fought to get him elected. No, they did not. The ones that the outgoing, and I'm pretty sure this is who they're referring to. I'm gonna have to find that page. Is it in here? I have so many pages open, it's absurd. Let's see, hold on. Where is it? Doink, 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 doink. I think it's in here. There you go. Nope, hold on. Anyways, they're referring to an outgoing White House spokesperson who said that, we have to save women's rights. We don't have to respond to activists who have been consistently out of step, meaning Bernie bros, with the Biden, with the Democrats. And so what she translated this into, a Biden spits in the face of activists that fought to get him elected. No, those people aren't the problem. They wouldn't be, quote unquote, out of step, would they? And he didn't say that at all. They basically, Biden spits in the face of these activists because an outgoing spokesperson was venting and said something on her own. Because women don't have agency or the ability to speak for themselves. Why would you think that? All right. Then Jimmy Dore, because the Jan 6 committee is on, there's any number of things happening. Hunter Biden should be in prison, says Joe Biden, is the title of this one, because I guess he's going to use stuff about crack from the early 90s as a way of doing some sort of weird pushback, like everybody is arrested morally and intellectually the way Jimmy is. And then this one's Joe's biggest lie yet. And before I go, let's take this one's shorter. So let's take a real quick look into Joe's biggest lie yet.
And tweeted this out July 9th.
Okay. July 9th, Joe Biden tweeted this out.
He says, "This is why elections matter."
Which, of course, Jimmy knows they don't.
You want to see what the video was? This is what he tweeted out.
The ultra-MAGA Republicans, they're going after your Social Security. They've written it down. Every 5 years, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid have to be reauthorized or they go out of existence. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, he has a proposal cut Social Security. I would have thought, had I not seen it on paper and heard them talk about it, that I was making this up. Not a joke. The senator from Wisconsin, Ron Johnson, promised again that if they regain power, they're going to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. That's why elections have consequences. That's why they matter.
Okay, so Jimmy's going to make some sort of, is Jimmy's hat crooked? No, that's his head. You want your Social Security, Medicare? I want you to have it too, Francie. That's why I voted for Biden. Now, watch how he, what do you think? Hold on. Remember the story that TYT flipped out a few weeks ago? The irony that Jimmy's been saying that TYT is leaning towards him and he's going to reference more than likely the person that Biden put on the board. Remember, it's a bipartisan board. You have to nominate Republicans and Democrats. And the Democrat, we've got all great Democrats on there, but he has to nominate some Republicans as well. Watch this.
So Joe Biden tweeted out a video pretending he's defending your Social Security from the bad Republicans.
For the record, what Biden is referencing there is that Rick Scott says that every 5 years, all social programs have to just disappear and they must be reauthorized or they go away. There has to be a vote. And if they can't make the vote by a deadline, they just go offline. Like the Violence Against Women Act, which is another piece of legislation that Jimmy doesn't give a fuck about. So he wants Social Security to be the same as the assault weapons ban.
There's jokes too.
Oh, by the way, there's jokes. All right. There's jokes too. Does he have Kurt behind the window feeding him jokes?
Oh, you're kidding.
No, why would he kid about there's jokes? Of course there's jokes. He pays to be on the show. He pays in jokes, Jimmy. You call it the Jimmy Dore Show, and he writes jokes for you so that you can still say you're a comedian. That's the arrangement.
I know I sent him.
I got it, yeah.
Here's the jokes. Here's the go. He's going to read the jokes. Here's the jokes.
What kind of a right-wing scumbag think that's what should be cut, Social Security? Thank you, Joe Biden. I had no idea what was at stake until you tweeted out that video.
That's the joke. That's it. That is, just so you know. I mean, I feel like does he need one of these? Does he need like one that says joke? And you know what? It's not so much the writing, it's the style and commitment. It's all about timing. I'm sorry, it's all about timing. It's all about timing. It is.
The only problem is, okay, both parties
work against us, tweeted. In his promotional video, Joe Biden accused Bernie Sanders of running a smear campaign against him on Social Security. Biden's a liar.
Joe Biden's been doing he's been wanting to cut Social Security his whole career. And in fact, what he just did.
Oh, yeah, there he is. There he is. Was it Biggs? Right, Andrew Biggs.
Was he tapped the anti-Social Security
tapped him.
The ideologue to oversee the program.
He taps an anti-Social Security ideologue to oversee the program. Now, for the record, partial privatization or changing Social Security to save it, I would not classify that. Although I would be hesitant to enact any of those things, certainly, without a good reasoning. I need Andrew Biggs. Is that his name? Okay, Andrew Biggs. Because Biggs. Biden. There you go. While I'm not for those things in general, or like raising the age or whatever, how you have to do it, the idea that you're going to save it for future generations by making slight modifications is not anti-Social Security. It isn't. just fucking isn't. You might not agree with him, but it's not the same as being we don't need that shit. Yeah, working on efficiency of it, making sure that the people who need it most get it. And I'm curious what the Lever article says about this or even goes past this, whether he just like saves the headline.
Biden nominated Andrew Biggs, this guy, a think tank dentist.
And by the way, this is the, hold on. This is the article. Hold on, back up one second. I'm going to open this. No, I want to do this. I want to go here, open link in new tab, open link in new tab. There we go. All right. So this is the article he's talking about. The lever. Watch now. Exposing the Social Security critic tapped to oversee program. Oh, there's a whole video on it or something. Watch now. This is the,
stay in the workforce a little longer. We need people to delay retirement, to work longer. Work more, retire later. Delay retirement, work a full lifetime.
Biden has tapped an anti-Social Security ideologue to
he's anti-social security ideologue.
Oversee the program.
Biggs fundamentally is somebody who does not believe that there is a retirement crisis.
Do we have a retirement crisis in this country?
Oh, not at all. He worked on Bush's privatization.
Okay, the music is very scary, but the idea is that largely he's talking about just extending the age for it because as people live longer and healthier lives, yada yada, but definitely not shutting it down. You know who wants to shut it down? Rick Scott. You know who wants to shut it down? Republicans currently running for office. The people who are going to be elected this fall, especially the maggots, the far right group, they want to eliminate it.
With a history of slamming Social Security to oversee government retirement benefits for 66 million Americans. Who appointed him? Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's weird. Hold on one second. By the way, he's not going to oversee it alone. He's going to be a member of the Social Security Advisory Board. He was nominated in May. Today, Joe Biden announced his intent to nominate Andrew Biggs to serve on the Social Security Advisory Board, an independent agency with 7-member bipartisan board that advises the President, Congress, and the Commission of Social Security on policies related to Social Security and supplemental security income programs. The position is subject to Senate confirmation. So you have to be able to get somebody through. They're going to be Republicans and they're going to be Democrats. Biggs is a senior fellow at the American Enterprise Institute, where he studies Social Security reform, state and local government pensions, and public sector pay and benefits. Before joining AEI, Biggs was the principal deputy commissioner of SSA. He's been there before, where he oversaw SSA's policy research efforts. In 2005, as an associate director of the White House National Economic Council, he worked on Social Security reform. In 2001, he joined the staff of President's Commission to strengthen Social Security. Biggs was interviewed on radio, television, was published widely in academic publications, as well as in daily newspapers such as the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Washington Post. He's also testified before Congress on numerous occasions. 2013, the Society of Actuaries appointed Biggs co-vice chair of the Blue Ribbon panel tasked with analyzing the causes of underfunding in public pension plans and how governments can securely fund plans into the future. In 2014, Institutional Investor magazine named him one of the 40 most influential people in the retirement world. In 2016, he was appointed by President Obama to be a member of the Financial Control Board overseeing reforms to Puerto Rico's budget and restructuring of the island's debt. By the way, if you'll notice, Puerto Rico still exists. He was not presented as an anti-Puerto Rico activist. And Jimmy didn't read any of this shit. Or didn't look any further than the Levers article, I bet.
For years, he has been a vocal critic of expanded Social Security and workers' rights to a secure...
And workers' rights. All right, so we're getting really watery. Expanded Social Security. Like what? He's actually in charge, like his job entirely in all these previous situations has been to make sure that Social Security stays solvent.
Stable retirement, free from the vagaries of the stock market. He has dismissed the retirement crisis as a non-issue.
Right, we saw that. And again, what's their definition of, quote, the retirement crisis, other than the issue... Let's see. This is what he's talking about. March 28th. Let's see. Where do we stand? This Market Watch. This is all private, though. Like public retirement crisis being what it is. He means they mean the pension crisis, essentially.
And as recently as 2020, he blamed the problems with the Social Security system on older Americans' game of chicken.
Okay. Older Americans. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Andrew Biggs. I'm sure we're going to find out that this game of chicken. Mm-hmm. Let's see. Okay, there we go. Senate urged to block Biden's privatization. Now, this is Jake Johnson. Okay, this I want to find out where he said. Senate. This article is being played in a bunch of this common dreams. Where's the actual? Biden may have just doomed the entire Social Security right. That's okay. These are all the same articles saying the same thing. Older Americans' game of chicken, advocated for Social Security cuts. Okay, where did he say this, though? I want to see what the context was other than just they're going to... Because basically the idea is that will there be enough money when they get there? Advocated for Social Security cuts. Group is going to... These are the exact same quotes. Almost, yeah. Last month, the Levers' Matthew Cunningham Cook called attention to the president's pick and warned to suggest there could be a coordinated push in Washington to cut the Social Security program, which provides retirement. No, whatever. Long record of advocating Social Security cuts. Realizing for years been a vocal critic. Vagaries of the stock market. That's the same quote exactly. That's who they're quoting. He has dismissed the retirement crisis as a non-issue, and as recently as 2020, blamed problems with Social Security system on older Americans' game of chicken. While the seat on the bipartisan panel is by tradition assigned to a Republican, Biden could have chosen a moderate candidate. The guy is a moderate candidate, certainly by current standards, or even leaned on precedent to avoid the nomination process altogether. Just leave the seat empty. Former President Donald Trump routinely refused to nominate Democrats for seats on boards and commissions. Yeah, he's an asshole, though. Elizabeth Warren led the introduction of the Social Security Expansion Act, which would lift the cap on income subject to Social Security payroll tax and boost the program's annual benefits by $2,400. At a time when that's partly what he's advocating. Andrew Biggs has advocated shit like this. Raising the cap on how much money you put in. If you make more money, you pay more in, and then it protects more people.
Is that referred to them not voting for him? That's the game of chicken?
I don't know what that game is, but that's...
Yeah, I mean, you pointed to it like you know what it means, and then you go, "What? Look what it..." I mean, that's what they call it. He said this.
This guy that Biden just appointed
is to the Republican seat on a board, has previously worked with Obama and the Biden administration. At no point in any of this shit did Social Security get shut down.
That's him talking.
But currently, Rick Scott is literally saying we need to sunset it.
Talking. Here's another... What? Go ahead.
That sounds very much like what that means is people are going to be mad you cut it, and what are they going to do? Not vote for you? Like, that's what it sounds like he's saying with that to me.
Okay.
Well, then go fucking find the quote and play the whole goddamn thing. Look, I know I'm the only person who goes through this stuff with clarity and plays the whole goddamn clip. And I know it can even be tiresome sometimes as we dive through this, because I didn't cut this chunk out of Jimmy's show. He did. This is his.
Am I crazy?
I don't know.
But I'll assume that it means the worst ever, and move ahead, because both of these assholes are great with economics.
And
why don't you just talk to us about money printing at some point?
2 decades ago, Biggs worked on a Bush administration commission that pushed to privatize Social Security.
Right, and didn't. And again, pushed to privatize. Fucking hell.
In response to questions from the Lever, Biggs suggested he no longer favors privatizing Social Security.
All right. So I'm going to go with anything anybody says before, they still believe. We'll just put a pin in that for Jimmy.
Instead, he said he now believes that nation Social Security-like programs should be more focused on guaranteeing against poverty in old age, while middle and high-income individuals take on greater responsibility.
High-income?
Believes that nation Social Security-like programs should be more focused on guaranteeing.
First of all, the nation's Social Security. Did Jimmy retype this himself?
Against poverty in old age, while middle and high-income individuals take on greater responsibility for saving for retirement on their own, such as by the government establishing universal retirement savings accounts for every worker.
Right. So exactly what Warren and Sanders were talking about as a way to shore up Social Security, and also putting it taking the cap off of that for investing for people contributing to Social Security. But because people won't sign on to that, because you'll lose seats, because people won't vote for this, they're not interested, and that's a huge fucking group of people. What you do is you create a guaranteed savings account that's part of that doesn't ride entirely on government debt that has been borrowed repeatedly to pay for all kinds of stuff. Because the stock market, as shaky as it gets, if you could have sidecars and one of them fails, the other one might make up for the difference. Because the concern is that if you keep stacking all these people and you have all these people, the boomers getting older and not enough young people coming in, there will not be enough money to pay for people's Social Security if you use the current standard. Nations is plural. But it's that he now believes that the nation, ours, apostrophe S, ownership, Social Security like programs should be more focused on, again, they soften it up a bunch.
Now, what is that? That's privatizing Social Security.
No, it is not. It's actually raising the amount of money you're taking from people to guarantee their retirement that's beyond Social Security. And also, I mean, there's all sorts of programs that have been put in place where they're not going to raise the actual age of retirement. But if you choose not to, you can keep more money. You'll earn more interest. This is fucking stupid. That's not prioritizing it. It's adding in a higher amount on people who have more, who do better in life.
That's making Social Security not what...
Yeah, belonging to nations, but not multiple nations. He's talking about this one, the nation, our nation, the Americas.
It is an entitlement program because you pay into it.
Right, and you keep that part, but some people, it's not going to be enough to keep them, in their house. So you add you either raise the amount everybody has to kick in, and poorer people can't afford that, or you drastically raise it on people who make more in instances where they won't want to do that, or you create a sidecar to it possibility for people who are making a little bit more. Tax the rich. Grumpy Dave, there's not enough rich people in the world to make Social Security solvent in this regard. It has to be spread out over everybody. Eat the rich. We're talking about people who make $85,000 a year. Calm down. That's not what they're talking about. Yeah, Stephanie, lift the cap. That's what we're talking about. It's really simple. Like, this is just normal, functional economics. There's nothing extraordinary about any of this stuff.
And they're going to make it into a welfare program.
No, they're not.
So then now people can have disdain for it.
Is that what's going to happen? Dude, the Republicans are going to eliminate it as soon as they get elected. I would rather have a welfare system that, the Social Security that remains as it is and has an addendum added onto it for people who make more money to guarantee there's financial stability in their later years, that you can either take money out of at some point in your life if you need it and borrow against it and yada yada, then and people have disdain for it. Then the Republicans under a new Trump or a Rick Scott or a DeSantis to literally get fucking rid of it.
He's not suggesting. He's suggesting privatizing.
No, he's not. It's an addition.
Exactly.
He's not suggesting he's against it. Why did they say that he's suggesting he's against it?
He's 100% for it.
No, he is. Like, these two guys are just incapable of understanding this. Like, you could just this is a matter of brain cells at this point.
Oh, it's more.
Yeah, he's got more jokes. He gave you some more jokes, but put him behind there's more quotes you pulled out, more stuff to be wrong about. You know what? Put Kurt back behind the graphic.
It's after the other video.
As Jeff Hauser at the Revolving Door Project pointed out, Trump would routinely refuse to nominate Democrats for the seats on that commission.
No. At the Revolving Door, Trump would routinely nominate Democrats for seats they were owed on other bipartisan boards and commissions, including the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, the FDIC, and the Security and Exchange Commission. A, that's bad. B, not the same fucking thing.
That they were owed on other
Do you notice how Jimmy just lied to you? Do you notice how Jimmy just misread that on purpose?
Trump would routinely refuse to nominate Democrats for the seats on that commission.
That's not what that says. At all. So the idea is that Trump wants you to, wait, why am I reading? To think that Trump protected Social Security and Biden is attacking it specifically.
That they were owed on other bipartisan boards and commissions, including the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation and the Securities and Exchange Commission. So there's supposed to be a certain amount of Democrats, certain amount of Republicans on these boards. Trump just ignored that shit.
Right. That's not good. And by the way, he served one term and he fucking lost.
But Biden isn't.
What again? What's he supposed to do? You're supposed to get points for just minority rat fucking?
Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump quietly pocket vetoed potential appointees recommended by Chuck Schumer during the Trump presidency. And sadly, the Democratic leadership ignored our call for action and never raised a fuss about it.
Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump quietly pocket vetoed potential appointees recommended by Chuck Schumer during the Trump presidency. And sadly, the Democratic leadership never ignored it. Oh, really? When was it? May of 2020?
So that's how you know Joe Biden's full of shit. And now you know why he's really here. I'll tell you why he's super full of shit. Watch this video.
Very exciting.
As Democrats, we can't launch dishonest attacks against fellow Democrats.
Why? Jimmy just did.
We have to.
Oh, was this put out by Biden during the campaign? Let's see.
Eat Donald Trump. Now Bernie's campaign has unleashed a barrage of negative attacks on Joe Biden.
And by the way, Jimmy, I think, referred to Bernie Sanders as the establishment's butt boy. Meaning that I think, Jimmy, and I don't want to speak for you and Kurt, but I believe what you're wanting to infer is that by being their butt boy, that being gay and a bottom are wholly negative.
They've even accused Joe Biden of supporting Paul Ryan's cuts to Social Security.
How could he say that?
Is not telling the truth.
Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to go after?
Social Security and Medicare.
There it is.
No. That isn't it. Hold on. Biden on Paul Ryan Social Security full. No, this is the same. I try to explain. Biden accused Sanders' campaign of sharing. There we go. I mean, this is fucking old, but there you go. Biden accuses Sanders' campaign of sharing doctored video of him attacking Social Security. Biden, for the first time on Saturday, addressed criticism from Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign over the former vice president's record on Social Security. Biden criticized the Sanders campaign for pushing a video he described as doctored that appears to show Biden agreeing with the former Republican Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan's stance on privatizing the program. Speaking at a town hall in Indianola, Iowa on Saturday, Biden fielded a question about his stance on Social Security from an audience member. Let's get the record straight. I'm not going to blame anybody, but well, let me just say the facts. There's a little doctored video. Whoops, where we go.
There's been, I've had phone calls, people asking me, what do you take about, does it concern you? What do you take about Joe's stance about what's going to happen to Social Security? So I'm going to ask you, what is your stance on Social Security?
Well, my stance on Social Security is, let's get the record straight. I'm not going to blame anybody, but, well, let me just say the facts. There's a little doctored video going around saying that, put out by, put out by one of Bernie's people. No, I'm serious. And I don't know if my staff has that video here, but saying that I agreed with Paul Ryan, the former vice presidential candidate, about wanting to privatize Social Security. It is, and PolitiFacts looked at it, and they doctored the photo. They doctored the piece, and it's acknowledged that it's a fake. And so what we're doing is we're putting out what the actual exchange between Paul Ryan and I were, and I have been a gigantic supporter of Social Security.
Okay, here we go. At issue is a video of Biden speaking at the Debunking Institute, April 2018, widely shared by Sanders supporters and campaign staffers. A 20-second long clip shows Biden apparently saying Ryan was correct about Social Security. Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, it was the first thing he decided we have to go after, Social Security, Medicare. Biden says at the beginning clip, now we need to do something about Social Medicare. That's the only way you could find room to pay for it. Let's see, ever since Paul Ryan first proposed paying for Trump's tax cuts, okay, So fighting against here, Biden say Ryan was correct to go after that. That's the piece. PolitiFact article, Biden cited on Saturday claimed that he was agreeing with Paul Ryan. Biden's campaign said the former vice president was in fact mocking Ryan in those comments. The article also points to Biden said after the 22nd, we need a pro-growth, progressive tax code that treats workers as job creators as well, not just investors, that gets rid of unprotected loopholes like stepped-up basis and requires raises enough revenue to make sure that Social Security and Medicare can stay. It's worth noting that despite Biden's repeated use of the words doctored and fake, the video is neither, it's just edited. While the former vice president's comments were taken completely out of context and Sanders' campaign framing of his words is misleading, the Sanders campaign for weeks now has been prodding Biden over his feet. This is the PolitiFact article. Let's see if they show it. There you go. That's the video that Jimmy just used. Yeah, doctored is neither of those things. But what he means is, you doctored if you lie by omission. You can cut off context. You can edit it, and that's what he means. It's doctored to look like if you go, they cut off the part that would give context. Sure. It was edited misleadingly. That would be a form of doctoring, I would argue. It's not important. It's a semantical argument. But in 2018, Biden lauded Paul Ryan for proposing cuts to Social Security and Medicare. False. This is the... he said that, wrote the Sanders campaign in the Jan 7 newsletter, sweeping changes that Biden on Paul Ryan in context. The Sanders campaign pointed to a speech Biden gave at the Brookings Institute in April 2018. Biden's overall message was that folks in the middle class are in trouble and that the tax code is widely skewed toward taking care of those at the very top. Biden argued that tax cuts were creating more debt, putting middle class programs at risk. The Sanders campaign plucked out what Biden said about Ryan, but ignored the complete passage, which showed that Biden wanted Social Security and Medicare protected, and to accomplish that goal would require making changes to the tax code. To the tax code. The thrust of his point was about the tax code. He's saying it does too much to help the uber rich. This is what Biden said about Ryan. Paul Ryan was correct when he did the tax code. It's the first thing he decided we had to go after. Biden said with a slight smirk. Biden then leaned in the microphone and said, Social Security, Medicare. Biden continued, now we need to do something about Social Security, Medicare, but then sarcastically whispered, that's the only way you can find room to pay for it. The Biden campaign said that he was mocking Ryan. I understand Biden told you after you watch and listen to his words. Here we go. This would be David Schroeder, and the Bernie left are now smearing Joe Biden over Social Security cuts. Why did it go to that video instead? Okay. The video, Here's the video Sirota is referencing a speech gave at the Brookings Institute.
So here's what we have to change, in my view. I think they're answers. One, first I think we have to do is we have to deal with income inequity. I love Bernie, but I'm not Bernie Sanders. I don't think 500 billionaires are the reason why we're in trouble. I hope my grandkids grow up to don't listen to their parents who all decided to do something, run the World Food Program, another one be Attorney General, another one run a social organization for at-risk youth. You know, they got all this education, and they, I should have had a Republican kid. So when they put me in a home, I'd have a window with a view. You know what I mean? But now there's going to be no view. But all kidding aside, we have not seen this huge concentration of wealth. And the folks at the top aren't bad guys. I get in trouble in my party when I say wealthy Americans are just as patriotic as poor folks. I found no distinction. I really haven't. But this gap is yawning. It's gaping. And it's having the effect of pulling us apart. You see the politics of it.
Sorry, hold on.
And the country's not going to stand for it forever. So we have to deal with the tax code. It's wildly skewed toward taking care of those at the very top. It overwhelmingly favors investors over workers. And it's riddled with unproductive expenditures. My economics teacher at the University of Delaware taught me the reason for a tax expenditure is to promote a social good, generate people taking risk, increase productivity. Raise your hand if you think that $1.3 trillion plus in tax expenditures, whether even half of it meets that, well, 2/3 of it meets that criteria.
He's talking about the Republican tax break that at the time.
Say where I come from, get a life. Look what's happened to the latest tax cut. Once again, those at the very top get the biggest breaks. And what do we have to show for it? Even our Republican friends are now beginning to admit there's no evidence these tax cuts are being put to work in the economy. No new growth, just more debt. And that puts middle-class programs that they rely on and they've worked for at real risk. Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to go after? Social Security and Medicare. Now, we need to do something about Social Security and Medicare. That's the only way you can find room to pay for it. Now, I don't know a whole lot of people in the top 0.1% or the top 1% are relying on Social Security when they retire.
He's talking about that's who the tax cut was for.
I don't know a lot of them. Maybe you guys do. So we need a pro-growth progressive tax code that treats workers as job creators as well, not just investors, that gets rid of unprotected loopholes like stepped-up basis. And it raises enough revenue to make sure that the Social Security and Medicare can stay, still needs adjustments, but can stay. And pay for the things we all acknowledge will grow the country.
There you go. This is a conversation about tax codes, and he's making the case that Paul Ryan's tax cuts and the Bush tax cuts were all aimed at making sure that and that Mitt Romney and what they were aiming for was all aimed at helping the 1.1 percent. That was who their tax breaks were looking at, and that's where their tax code points to. And he's saying none of them use Social Security. They don't give a fuck if Social Security and Medicare collapse. What year was this bit of Biden video taken? This is in, let's see, when is it? 2019 is when they posted this. By the way, the video's not from then. It was from okay, blah, blah, blah. Okay, this was back when Where is it? They have it listed. Here's the video of him. If you listen to speech, you'll notice it. Paul Ryan. I mean, this is 20. When is this? 2012. Oh, and by the way, just in case you think this is just a Jimmy Dore thing, this goes back to 2019 when they were pushing back against him. Joe Biden cut Medicare and Social Security. This is Cenk Uygur. That is clear language that I'm going to cut Social Security and Medicare, and I'm going to agree with Republicans on that. Means testing Social Security so that people in the upper 1% or even in the upper 20% don't get it anymore, and it goes to people who need it, is not cuts. It's cutting it from people who, the idea that Bezos is going to get a fucking check is absurd.
There he is agreeing with Paul Ryan.
No, he isn't. We just all watched that. And Jimmy's using the same short clip the Bernie Sanders campaign put out. Let's see. Real quick. I knew this would be involved, and I just okay. Let's see. See what the Here you go. Just real quick.
So Bernie Sanders declares he won't primary Biden, and also he went the extra mile and said he would support him if he runs again. See that, AOC? That's how you have to play the game when no one thinks you're pretty. You don't get...
Okay, so ageist and sexist as well. Also, Bernie is older than Biden is. Okay, thank you. Yeah, April 2018 was when that speech was given. And he was talking about, specifically, he was talking about, when he was running against Biden and the kind of trying to get a progressive tax.
Right. Now, Joe Biden made a commercial that said he didn't do this.
No. Joe Biden told the truth, and you are using a split-second clip from the Bernie campaign, who you think are Democratic establishment butt boys.
Said he couldn't believe...
Yeah.
But they talk about doing this.
Yes.
No. Both of you were fucking stupid. This is, it's getting lazier, I will say. Gone is are the French cuffs. Jimmy's going full, I don't know, Old Navy. He looks like a child star from the late 60s. Who's grown up and still does autograph signings in his outfit from the show. Oh, sorry, was he loud because the other one's loud? The other video is quiet. They're inconsistent.
Now, we need to do something about Social Security and Medicare. It's the only way you can find room to pay for it.
Whatever happened to the old conservative discipline about paying for what you spend? I'm up for re-election this year, and I'm going to remind everybody what I did at home, which is going to cost me politically. When I argued that we should freeze federal spending, I meant Social Security as well. I meant Medicare and Medicaid.
They were doing a singular freeze on it, not because he was trying to get rid of Social Security, it's because they were literally dealing with the budget back then in a way that they thought deficits genuinely mattered. It didn't. Ultimately, just like you having a mortgage, it doesn't ruin your life or make you in a debtor's prison to have a 30-year mortgage on a house you may only live in for 10 years.
I meant that
he frees everything uniformly, including military spending. Jimmy's not going to go, Biden is anti-military, is he?
I meant every single solitary thing in the government.
Yes, that's what a government spending freeze meant. Everything.
And I not only tried it once, I tried it twice, I tried it a third time, and I tried it a fourth time. Somebody has to tell me in here how we're going to do this hard work without dealing with any of those sacred cows.
So that's Joe Biden claiming he's trying to save Social Security.
No, he was calling the bluff of the Republicans at that time, by the way. Everything's got to go. And by the way, these sacred cows, he meant the defense budget as well. So the idea was like, they want to cut defense. These lefties want to cut defense. They don't give a rat fuck. The Soviet Union fell, so they want to cut everything out of the military. And he's like, no, we said freeze everything. We're trying to reach a consensus here. And if I can't, I'm willing to give these things up, and you fuckers aren't willing to cut defense at all. What are we talking about? Again, I love how he thinks this is a slam dunk or something. Do his viewers think so? Did they buy this? I guess so.
Do you see why it's ridiculous?
Once, twice, three times a MAGA, an ultra MAGA suggestion.
No, that joke wasn't worth the list, Kurt. That wasn't. Yeah. I know you wanted to put that on the paper, but it was a mistake. And you're like trying to throw it in there at the last second. I don't think Jimmy's going to pay you for it. I really don't. I think
Bernie now is let's watch this commercial again. Can I watch this again?
As Democrats, we can't launch dishonest attacks against fellow Democrats. We have to beat Donald Trump. Now Bernie's campaign has...
By the way, this is him absolving himself of any guilt, I suppose, of this year's midterm.
Unleashed a barrage of negative attacks on Joe Biden. They've even accused Joe...
Yeah, this one isn't doing that great. It's 173 rumbles. 716 views. I mean, it's today, so, give him some time, right?
Joe Biden of supporting Paul Ryan's cuts to Social Security.
We just showed you the video where he did that.
No, you didn't. You showed the same clip that everybody saw back in the campaign, and it ultimately fucked Bernie's campaign. This is asked and answered. This is old shit.
And they're upset that Bernie Sanders was pointing it out. It's not. This is no time to tell the truth about Joe Biden. We've got to beat Trump so we can protect Medicare.
And Jimmy, again, remember, Jimmy intentionally misread the earlier part of that article to infer that, on purpose, it seems, that Biden is doing something with Social Security that Trump not only didn't do, but worked to protect. He did not, he denied people, on that particular board, but then ultimately didn't try to privatize security or whatever because he was afraid the Democrats were going to do it?
And then we'll get elected and we'll cut Medicare.
No. The Affordable Care Act's Medicaid expansion expanded Medicaid coverage to nearly all adults with incomes up to 138% of the federal poverty level, $17,774 for individuals in 2021, and provided states with an enhanced federal matching rate for their expansion populations. To date, 39 states, including D.C., have adopted the Medicaid expansion, and 12 states have not adopted the expansion. Current status for each state is based on KFF tracking and analysis of state expansion activity. This is the ACA. Again, we started this off with the fact that the Republicans want to get rid of the ACA. By the way, so does Jimmy Dore. I'm sorry, Anna. We're almost done. There's like a minute left of this horse shit.
Campaign.
But again, I'd like to remind you, remember the January 6th thing happened today? This is what Jimmy was covering. This is the priority. Jimmy is rerunning debunked videos from the 2019 campaign from Bernie Sanders to attack Joe Biden 4 months from an election.
Is not telling the truth.
Paul Ryan was correct. When he did the tax code, what's the first thing he decided we had to...
Again, he's playing the same shit again. Dude, it doesn't make it more true. You cut it together, fucko.
Go after.
Social Security?
Hey, that does not match up with the initial denials.
So let's remember the first video.
The ultra MAGA Republicans.
Yes. Okay. Let's talk about cuts to Medicare and Social Security. Let's be completely generous that Jimmy thinks that Biden is going to cut Social Security and Medicare, make cuts to it, privatize it even as part of it, okay? The Rick Scott plan is to fucking get rid of it.
They're going after your Social Security. They've written it down. Every 5 years, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid have to be reauthorized, or they
Sorry, I had to bring the audio down. I apologize.
go out of existence. Senator Lindsey Graham of South Carolina, he has a proposal to cut Social Security. I would have thought, had I not seen it on paper and heard them talk about it, that I was making this up. Not a joke.
You've endorsed this.
No, he has not.
I thought they were making it up. You mean that thing that you endorsed when you whispered in a really super unclever way?
He was dropping a truth bomb on
Yeah.
you.
Here's the truth. You got to cut Social Security and Medicare.
No, he said the whisper was on that's the only way you can come up with to save it is by cutting taxes.
And then he smiles about it.
Because he knows he's really saying something good, and you're the one that's lying about it.
You can all just do P90X like Paul Ryan. Have a great body. You don't need to go.
Why is that? Why is a Paul Ryan P90X reference good? Are we going to do Billy Beer jokes now?
Go to the hospital.
Ugh.
So, Joe Biden is currently right now trying to cut your Social Security.
No, he is not. By no measure. Fucking absurd. No, not true. A material lie. Garbage. Bullshit. Not even remotely true.
And Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare.
No, he's not. Well, sorry. Citation needed. You have 20 seconds left. Show me Joe Biden's Medicare cuts. And
it's the only way.
It's the only way.
Hold on. Jesus Christ. Is there a witch in the studio? Hold on. Biden. It's just should I show it to you? When you search Biden Medicare cuts, should I can I do you think I'll come on? I know there's at least one Jimmy Dore fan out there that doesn't want me to show this. That does not. President Joe Biden signed a bill into law December 10th that will prevent billions in cuts to Medicare from taking effect early next year. The law halts a mandatory 2% federal Medicare spending sequester until April 2022 and stops a 4% statutory pay-as-you-go sequester. Medicare cuts averted. Congress and President intervene in Medicare payment. Okay, sequester cuts. Last week, he signed a S610, the Protecting Medicare and American Farmers from Sequester Cuts Act, completing the last-minute congressional effort to stave off Medicare cuts. The law will impact 2022 Medicare payments for family physicians in several ways. Increases the 2022 Medicare conversion factor, defers until 2023 cuts of 4% that were otherwise scheduled to be implemented in 2022, mandated by the Pay-As-You-Go Act of 2010. These cuts were meant to offset increases in the federal deficit. Exempts Medicare programs from Budget Control Act sequestration cuts from March 31st, 2022. The sequestration reduction will be 1% from April 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2022, and 2% the rest of 2022. Sequestration reductions apply to actual payments from Medicare administrative contractors, MACs. They calculated after beneficiary cost sharing and applied only what Medicare pays. Delay cuts in Medicare fees for clinical laboratory services due to Protecting Access to Medicare Act. They was delaying the cuts in Medicare fees due to the Protecting Access to Medicare Act. Additionally, the law retains an update to clinical labor pricing included in the 2022 Medicare Physician Fee Schedule final rule. Clinical labor pricing is used to calculate the practice expense portion of Medicare physician payment rates to account for the cost of staff salaries and benefits. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services has not updated the Bureau of Labor and data factored into them calculations since 2002. They ain't done shit since then. They have now. CMS will update clinical labor pricing over 4 years to account for significant increases in the cost of employing clinical staff, which will benefit family medicine. CMS, they're going to raise the payments to people working in family medicine clinics. Ain't that nice? We'll get there and what the fuck? I'm sorry, what were you saying, little Jimmy?
I'll just do P90X like Paul Ryan. Have a great body. You don't need to go to the hospital.
So, Joe Biden is currently right now trying to cut your Social Security and Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare.
He's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it with Medicare. There you go. Hold on. Why did my how come all the pages disappear? I don't understand this. Where you go? There you go. And then get back up here, silly. There you go. There's this weird click to the top of the screen thing that I don't understand like in PCs. Like everything disappears. It's completely fucked up. It's so odd. There you go. Get out of here, doofy. All right. So, he's doing it with Medicare. He's doing it. They fuck you at the drive-thru. They fuck you at the drive-thru. Congress and President Biden intervene. This is literally the opposite of what the fuck he's saying. It's just evil shit.
It's the only way.
It's the only way. Here we're going to Sacramento.
Okay. Can I just say, what a raging pile of shit. Just stacks of fucking lies. Just nobody does, and nobody gives a fuck about that. Nobody's even trying to totally. I guess everybody hates whatever the establishment or the corporate devs or whatever the fuck so much that they're never going to look past what he says. They're just not going to. And it would be fine if they were just kind of, it was a bunch of, disenfranchised dickheads who don't vote anyways or never did. But he's actively participating, just like TYT, in this campaign to mute the vote this fall to make Democrats apparently pay for not bending over for the Justice Democrats or some shit. When Jimmy said himself in the video I showed you with Russell yesterday that when they did this big march for Medicare for All, no politician showed up, the nurses unions didn't show up, and all of these people who allegedly support it didn't show up, meaning that the policy that they're advocating for is not passable at this time. And so if you actually care about patients and sick people or old people or anybody in a desperate situation financially because of their medical bills, you will do everything in your fucking power to make sure that whatever incremental steps can be taken are taken every fucking time. Because no one showed up to their bullshit. Nobody supports what they're talking about. So the idea that they should somehow be able to muscle people into, which is exactly what TYT's doing. TYT has, besides their kind of run-of-the-mill, louder, cursier, if that's a word, version of kind of mainstream takes on Republican intransigence and assholes, and the fact that they're assholes in their behavior. Besides all that, what do they actually ask you to do? Don't vote for Democrats. That's the purpose of TYT right now. They are in the voter suppression game. That's it. Because on the one hand, if Democrats are successful in their incremental way. It brings the lie to all the shit they've been selling for a long time. And on the other hand, it's sort of like vengeance. Fuck you. I hope I'm not going to show up. I hope you fail. I don't care who's hurt. I don't care who dies or goes broke or what rights are swept away during that stuff. I need to be inspired by you doing what I say, even if I don't have a majority of voters to support my ideas, which is straight up fucking fascism to some degree. What else is it when 23% says my way or the highway while alleging to believe, the same things you and I believe? Humoristic pragmatism. Are these other words for optimistic stoicism? But here I would like to say, for the record, just in case we're putting our chess pieces on the board, vote. Vote every time, commit to voting, and vote for a candidate that will actually get elected. Protest votes are childish, they're dismissive, and they're an act of privilege, to use the parlance of our time. If you can make a protest vote, you live privileged lives. You have a responsive fucking ability to vote for one of the two people that's going to get elected in one of these things, and you're supposed to vote for the one that will do the least damage. No for corporate Dems, vote for progressive Dems. You're wrong, Al. Nah, fuck that, Rich. There are no... if you have a Dem in your district, vote for that Dem. If you live in fucking Iowa, you're not going to get an AOC to vote for. I'm not talking about primaries. The fucking primaries are over, but for a few. I do live a privileged life, though. Yes, but you live a cruel privileged life is what I would say, Doc. Yes, entitled, arrogant, bratty, selfish pricks. If you have an opportunity to choose between the lesser of two evils, choose less evil every fucking time. And the idea that you could do a protest vote in a general election, considering that the other party, the Republicans in this situation, want to sunset every social program every 5 years. I don't mean cuts. I don't mean modifications. I don't mean raising the retirement age. I don't mean changing the tax code. I mean gone. And if you're not inspired by the fact that one group is trying to find a manageable, normal way of helping these programs survive and move forward and adding things where you can and cutting things that aren't necessary and doing the normal, like, constant gardening that adulthood fucking takes, compared to people who just want to make sure that people are on Medicare and Medicaid or Social Security are fucked. They're on their own. We should have let them die a long time ago. If that's the attitude, then just own up to it. Just join the Boogaloo Boys. Between Dora and Kurt, who's less evil? Technically speaking, ironically enough, it would be Dora because he is at least avowedly for Medicare for all. Kurt is actually a conservative. Jimmy it's horseshoe theory. They overlap. He's more of a, he's a Jordan Peterson fan. From the right. He's got more incel tendencies. And Kurt probably votes. So he'll vote that way. So Jimmy, because he doesn't vote, is the lesser of two evils because he's basically he's a flaccid prick. But neither one of them are running. That's what I'm saying. Neither one of them are the option. If you're in a situation where you've got a progressive Dem running in for Congress in your area or for Senate or whatever, and they're running in the primary and they're going to win, knock yourself the fuck out. Even if they're not, even if you really believe in them, go for it. Campaign for them, campaign for their ideas, push. But once if they don't win, the idea that somehow they deserve to not only have one, even though they didn't, but that you now are sort of absolved of any responsibility in the general election because your candidate didn't win. So you get to enact like sour grapes vengeance on the Democrat that did beat them in the primary and not vote. when the stakes are so high on the other side, the thing is, I question the idea that you ever believe the progressive idea in the first place. If you're willing to sacrifice people like that, I call bullshit. I think it's a lie. I think in that case, you are lying about your ethics, your virtue, your belief in the worth of a human being. I think it's all for show then. Because if your candidate loses in the primary and your response is to vote for the other party or not at all, you didn't believe what that candidate wants at all. It's a lie. You're a liar in that case. It's gross. And you're willing to sacrifice a bunch of people because, you're going to take your football and go home. It's nasty. It is morally reprehensible. Progressives are maggots in blue. There's an argument for that. But I'm speaking one-to-one to people who would be like that. If they ever see this at any time. I've been accused of vote shaming. You're goddamn right. If you voted for Trump or you left it blank in 2016, you ought to be fucking ashamed of yourself. And that shame shouldn't be something that defines you as a human being going forward. It should change your behavior. It should wake you up to the privileged, petty, arrogant, selfish awfulness of your previous behavior and make you, in future, act better. We all have regrets. I am not one of these people who says don't have regrets because regrets, whatever had happened, made you who you are. Well, maybe who you are needs some improvements, and the awareness of that regret can be a moral guidepost on how to be a better fucking person. Other than that, I have no opinion. All right, I'll see you guys later. I stayed over. You guys are fantastic. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Vote.org. Share it everywhere. Make sure everybody's registered and that their registration is up to date because they are going to be rat fucking this election like crazy. Love you guys. Okay, bye. And yes, there will be a show tomorrow.